Chapter 227, Chapter 227, Wind Moon Palace. Chapter 227, Wind Moon Palace. Sir, let's talk things out. The spirit alchemist is really cultivating. Why don't you wait for a while? When the time comes, the spirit alchemist will come out to meet you. I wonder what kind of grudge you have with the spirit alchemist. Yun Xiaoling cried out bitterly in his heart. He could not even tell the other party's cultivation base. He must be a martial emperor. A martial emperor could destroy Maple Leaf Manor with just one move. Moreover, the old man and middle-aged man behind him were even more powerful. How could Maple Leaf Manor resist them? You dare to snatch my woman? You're courting death. The young man said angrily, as if his wife had run away with someone else. Immediately, there was an uproar below. Countless disciples could not help but laugh. So that was what happened. Junior brother Li was really bold. He even dared to snatch the woman of such a super expert. But junior brother Li had always been at Maple Leaf Manor. When would he go and snatch his woman? Moreover, senior sister Yun Yaro was so beautiful. Junior brother Li wouldn't go and snatch other women. Although he was afraid of this expert, this young man's words were too funny. 1, 2, 3. Shocking explosive fist. After the young man finished speaking, he felt regret. The expressions of the few guards beside him changed drastically. Why was this little master so unbridled? However, they did not dare to say anything. The young man quickly finished counting, and a shocking fist with destructive power smashed down. Yun Xiaoling and the others were shocked to death. The attack of a martial emperor was enough to destroy the world. What else could Maple Leaf Manor resist? Even if Li Lingtian was here, he would not be able to withstand it. This time, it was really over. Even God couldn't save Maple Leaf Manor. However, at this moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the courtyard of Maple Leaf Manor. A silver light shot into the sky and collided with the young man's fist shadow. Rumble. With a loud explosion, 2 attacks exploded in the sky, and destructive forces flew everywhere. However, when Yujin arrived at the Maple Leaf Villa, a light shield appeared and covered the entire Maple Leaf Villa. The residual force was neutralized by the light shield like a breeze, and all the martial artists were stunned. Yun Xiaoling was shocked. What kind of attack could withstand the attack of a martial emperor? What kind of formation could have such a powerful defense? All of this seemed to be an illusion, but he soon discovered that the light shield really existed. Moreover, he also saw the expressions of the 6 experts in the air changing continuously. Countless soliciting Moon Mountain Range warriors flew over and looked at Maple Leaf Manor from afar. They were all shocked to find that the defenses of Maple Leaf Manor were so strong. Heavenly Net Cloud Formation. Which expert is here? Please show yourself. Lan Tianxiang of the Wind Moon Palace is here to handle some matters. One of the 2 white-haired elders in the air was also shocked when he saw the array of Maple Leaf Manor. He could clearly see that this array formation was created at the last minute. However, to be able to create such an array formation at the last minute, it must be a super expert. Only those who had reached the realm of a holy array master would have such ability. Although the Wind Moon Palace was powerful, it was against the rules to come here. Moreover, the expert who had cast this array also made him feel threatened. Heavenly Net Cloud Formation? Isn't this a peerless heaven-grade formation? Wind Moon Palace. Wind Moon Palace. The Wind Moon Palace, one of the 3 great sects of the Azure continent. For a moment, countless knowledgeable martial artists recognized that the Skynet Cloud Formation was a peerless heaven-grade formation. Furthermore, the Wind Moon Palace was a legend of the Azure continent. The 3 great sects were also the forces that ruled the Azure continent. The 3 great sects of the Azure continent were existences that surpassed the 10 great clans of the Azure continent. These 3 sects were definitely the rulers of the Azure continent. The Wind Moon Palace, Queen's Palace, and House of Storms were known as the 3 great sects of the Azure continent. They had ruled the Azure continent for countless years, and no sect could shake them. It was said that 100,000 years ago, the 10 great clans of the Azure continent had joined forces to attack the Wind Moon Palace, but they had also suffered a crushing defeat. One could imagine how powerful the three great sects were. He did not expect the transcendental Wind Moon Palace to come to the soliciting Moon Mountains. Hearing the words Wind Moon Palace, Yun Xiaoling was completely stunned. These three words numbed him like a curse. Who is this expert? 1 a.m. Lan Tianxiang, and I am here to handle some matters. Please show yourself. Lan Tianxiang, as the great elder of the Windy Moon Palace's outer circle, was a 9th-level martial emperor. He was originally free and unfettered, but he never expected the little master to come to his territory. He was shocked when he heard that someone had stolen his woman. Who would dare to touch the woman of the young master of the Wind Moon Palace? Wasn't this courting death? Moreover, the person who stole little master's woman was in his territory. Lan Tianxiang was the highest manager of Moonrise City. If he didn't handle this matter well, he would lose his life. Hence, he brought his 4 subordinates to Moonrise Mountain Range with his young master, Prince Wind Spirit. He shouted twice, but no one answered. Lan Tianxiang was embarrassed. Although he was a 9th-level martial emperor and was still a little unhappy with managing the city, he had the backing of the Wind Moon Palace. Even a martial honor would not dare to go against him. Now that he was ignored, he was furious. Who is this expert? If he doesn't show himself, then this Lan will be rude. Lan Tianxiang shouted again. He didn't dare to be too rude because there were still 2 other supreme existences in the Azure continent. There were also some hidden experts. He didn't want to fail miserably. The atmosphere was oppressive. Even countless martial artists who had come to watch the show felt that something was wrong. Maple Leaf Manor had been unusual recently. Now that they had provoked the Wind Moon Palace, could it be that there was really a super expert? Do it. Lan Tianxiang's expression grew increasingly unsightly. How could someone be so rude to him in his own territory? If this continued, how could he convince the masses? He waved his hand, signaling for his subordinates to attack. Lan Tianfu, Shangguan Yu, and Green Moon City nodded. They circulated their genuine vitality, and the shocking pressure of a 7th-level martial emperor filled the space. With a wave of his hand, a shocking attack blasted down. 3 attacks tore through space and bombarded the light shield. Roar! 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 At this moment, 3 roars sounded, and shocking demonic power soared into the sky. A silver figure rushed out. With a flap of its huge wings, 2 sharp gusts of wind welcomed the 2 attacks. The other huge jade-eyed beast also shot out, its claws clapping against the attack. The huge multicolored beast could not fly, and it was only at tier 4. It could only roar and cheer on the ground. Rumble. A series of earth-shattering explosions shook the Maple Leaf Manor. However, under the protection of the light shield, it was not directly destroyed. The 3 attacks were neutralized. The silver-winged flying dragon floated in the air with a gentle breeze. Its huge wings flapped. Every time it flapped, it tore through the space. The jade-eyed beast was also floating in the air. Its huge body originally looked very heavy, but floating in the air like this felt nondescript. After reaching the 5th level, their strength was equivalent to a martial emperor. Although they were not a match for a 7th-level martial emperor, they could still resist for a while with the defense and attack of the demonic beasts. Hey! All the martial artists were shocked when they saw the powerful demonic beast in the sky. It was a level 8 5th stage silver-winged flying dragon, and its entire body was covered with a shocking dragon aura. This dragon aura was extremely pure, and it was at level 8 5th stage. However, its strength had reached the peak of level 9 5th stage. Even a peak level 9 5th stage demonic beast was not its match, let alone in the air. He was definitely the king of the sky and the land. Dragons were the kings of the land. The silver-winged flying dragon had the blood of dragons. In addition, Little White had given him the blood of the true dragon, which made it even more mutated. With wings, he was definitely a king in the air. The soliciting Moon Mountain Range used to look down on the forces and warriors of Maple Leaf Manor, but now they felt waves of fear. This was because Maple Leaf Manor had always been hiding super experts and terrifying demonic beasts. If Maple Leaf Manor was really angry in the past, there were simply not many families and sects that could resist. Just this silver-winged flying dragon alone could sweep through some large and small factions. 3 terrifying demon beasts had appeared at once. It was really abnormal. All of a sudden, none of the martial artists dared to breathe loudly. Lan Tianxiang's expression turned solemn. A demon beast like the silver-winged flying dragon could not be tamed at all. If it was tamed, its master would definitely be extremely powerful. There was another serious problem. He had shouted the name of the Wind Moon Palace, but he did not show himself. Moreover, he had ignored the Wind Moon Palace. Could it be that the hidden people were the experts of the other 2 sects? But the senior masters of the Queen's Palace or House of Storms are here. I'm sorry to disturb you. Please show yourself. Lan Tianxiang shouted loudly. If he were to retreat like this, he would lose his life in the future. Countless people in the Wind Moon Palace were eyeing his position as the manager. If he were to leave like this, he would definitely suffer. The Wind Spirit Prince didn't say anything else. He just looked at Lan Tianxiang coldly, implying that if he couldn't solve this problem, he would have to return to the Wind Moon Palace to receive his punishment. The atmosphere in Maple Leaf Villa was tense, but there was no sound at all. Yun Xiaoling and the others were completely stunned. He did not even have the qualifications to know about this matter. This was a matter between super sects. It was a matter between martial emperors, martial supremes, and even martial sovereigns. He could not imagine or understand it at all. On the other hand, Li Lingtian was cultivating in his room in the courtyard. He also discovered that there were experts outside. Everything outside was in his mind. This was the power of the array. However, Yun Yaro didn't know what was going on outside because the array formation had cut off all sound and everything else. Yun Yaro looked at Li Lingtian quietly. Her little face was neither flushed nor shy. He had just taken off his clothes in front of his junior brother, and he had seen everything. They were momentarily mesmerized by Li Lingtian's focus and seriousness. 5 elements return, Paragon. At that moment, Li Lingtian shouted softly as he continuously waved his hands to absorb the 5-colored radiance around him. Then, an excited expression appeared on his face, and a smile appeared on his lips. This smile caused Yun Yaroiro's heart to tremble. In the past, he didn't notice that this junior brother of his was really a carefree and elegant youth. He was enough to make all the girls in the world fall for him. Chapter 228, Chapter 228, Wind Spirit Prince. Chapter 228, Wind Spirit Prince. Li Lingtian opened his eyes and looked at the dazed Yun Yaro with a puzzled expression. Yaro sis. She called out softly, then stood up and stretched her body. Yes. Junior brother, you're done. Yun Yaro was shocked and immediately woke up. A shy expression appeared on her face. It's done. Li Lingtian smiled faintly with a confident look on his face. With the help of the soul-restoring pill, he had finally recovered from his injuries. Furthermore, with Yun Yaroiro's 9 yin terminal meridians, his ice soul martial soul had become even more powerful. After his cultivation was restored, he was able to advance to Tier 3 martial arts grandmaster in one fell swoop. This achievement made Li Lingtian extremely excited. When he was in Green Island, he was at the peak of a rank 1 martial arts grandmaster. Although his cultivation had disappeared, after a few months, he had recovered his cultivation and actually broke through 2 ranks, becoming a rank 3 martial arts grandmaster. In this way, he had benefited from a disaster. His mental state had sublimated, his skills had improved, and his cultivation had also increased greatly. Rumble. At this moment, a shocking explosion sounded. Even though they were in the array formation, they felt the threat of destruction. Li Lingtian's expression was cold. He was courting death by attacking the array formation in such a manner. It seemed like the other party was going to fight to the death. What happened? Yun Yaro was shocked. She could not help but hold Li Lingtian's arm with a fearful look on her face. She did not expect that there was a difference between the two of them. Some blind people are just here to court death. Come, let's go out and take a look. Li Lingtian activated his divine consciousness and retrieved the divine array diagram from Yun Yaroiro's body before returning it to his dantian. Outside the room, The entire Maple Leaf Manor was trembling. The array in the courtyard was also constantly being torn apart. Needless to say, the array that he had cast was able to destroy the array like this. One could only imagine how determined he was. Creak. With a soft sound, the wooden door to the courtyard opened, waking up Yun Tianling and the others who were still in shock. They were overjoyed to see Li Lingtian and Yun Yaoyao come out. However, when he thought of the 6 experts in the air, the joy on his face turned into fear. Sir Ling Tian. Yao Yao. Yun Xiaoling bowed at Li Lingtian and looked at Li Lingtian and Yun Yaoyao expectantly. It's done. Li Lingtian said lightly. Although it sounded easy, he was the only one who knew how dangerous the situation was. As he spoke, he watched the silver-winged flying dragon in the sky being besieged by 2 9th-level martial emperors. The other 4 martial emperors kept bombarding the light shield of the array. The multicolored beast and the jade-eyed beast also kept blocking the attacks of the other party. Pa, pa, pa. It's so lively. It looks pretty good. A faint smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as he extended his hand to applaud as if he was encouraging the 6 warriors in the air. All the warriors were stunned by this scene. It seemed like Li Lingtian was watching the show as though he was watching a monkey's show. Murderous intent surged in his heart. He was actually so arrogant in front of him. Junior, you are courting death. Lan Tianxiang clapped his hands when he saw an ordinary person without any cultivation. Wasn't he watching them perform? However, this array was difficult to break through in a short period of time. Moreover, there was the attack of the silver-winged flying dragon. Even the 2 9th-level martial emperors couldn't kill the silver-winged flying dragon, let alone kill it. Now, he was just waiting for his subordinates to break through the array and kill everyone inside. Then, she would find Li Lingtian. Otherwise, she would not let go of her little master. You want to die? Haha, this young master has heard this sentence at least 800 times, but the person who said it can no longer speak. Li Lingtian laughed out loud. He had regained his warrior ascendant status and was now a tier 3 warrior ascendant. His strength had improved and he was brimming with confidence. Even if he couldn't defeat a 9th-level martial emperor, he could still escape. Moreover, the silver-winged flying dragon had entangled the rank 9 martial emperor, so he did not have to worry about the other experts at all. Who are you? I'm looking for Li Lingtian. The Wind Spirit Prince said loudly. Li Lingtian was amused by the one-track-minded Wind Spirit Prince. In his previous life, he was a true idiot. You guys played with my demonic beast for half a day, and even this young master doesn't know who it is. Don't you feel ashamed? Li Lingtian's face cracked into a smile. He did not look like an ordinary person who was afraid of a destructive attack. On the contrary, he did not think much of the Windy Moon Palace's powerhouses. Are you Li Lingtian? The Wind Spirit Prince was stunned as he asked loudly. Since they were speaking in the array formation, their voices were very soft. The people outside could not hear Li Lingtian and Yun Xiaoling's conversation at all. The countless warriors in the distance were shocked to see Li Lingtian calmly facing the powerhouse's attacks. They did not know what Li Lingtian was capable of. That's right. One don't understand. Why did you come here instead of staying in the Wind Moon Palace? Li Lingtian looked at Prince Wind Spirit in confusion. This Tier 5 Martial Emperor Prince was also a top genius, but he was lacking in one aspect. So you're Li Lingtian. Stop. This prince wants to see just how powerful you are. You actually dare to snatch this prince's woman. The Wind Spirit Prince was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. He shouted at Li Lingtian to stop the other guards. A young man with no cultivation base and looks no better than him, why would he dare to snatch his woman? Li Lingtian nearly staggered when he heard the Wind Spirit Prince's words. What kind of person was this? Was it not an insult to his reputation to snatch his woman? Yun Yaoyao also looked at Li Lingtian. This junior brother of hers was snatching another man's woman? Countless warriors who had rushed over were stunned. The prince of the Wind Moon Palace before them had actually snatched Li Lingtian's woman from him. What kind of ability and courage did he have? Dragons did not make enemies with ants. Those who snatched women from experts were definitely not simple. When they thought about the changes in Maple Leaf Villa recently, they had a hunch that Li Lingtian must have concealed his cultivation base. You mother ***, you've already stopped and you still hit me. In the sky, Yun Chengfeng, who was with Lan Tianxiang, started cursing loudly. He was a 9th-level martial emperor, but he had failed to gain any advantage by joining hands with Lan Tianxiang to deal with the silver-winged flying dragon. After their little master shouted to stop, the two of them stopped. However, the silver-winged flying dragon took advantage of the moment when the two martial emperors stopped and attacked fiercely, directly slapping the two unguarded 9th-level martial emperors to the ground. Immediately, the warriors of Maple Leaf Manor and the experts watching the battle from afar were all unable to hold back their laughter. They wanted to laugh but did not dare to. Ha ha, ha ha. Li Lingtian laughed as well. Naturally, he was not as afraid as the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor. He could laugh without restraint. However, when he thought about how the Wind Spirit Prince said that he was fighting with him for a woman and even brought experts to cause trouble, wasn't this a joke? Wait a minute, you said that this young master is snatching your woman? Is there something wrong with your brain? I've been staying in Maple Leaf Manor all this time and one don't know you. I've never come into contact with any women. Don't insult my reputation. Li Lingtian quickly told the Wind Spirit Prince to stop talking. He had to straighten things out or he would not do something like being blamed. You still said that you didn't snatch my woman. She already said that you were at Maple Leaf Manor. It was also during this period of time. Are you trying to go back on your words? Prince Wind Spirit felt something was amiss when he saw Li Lingtian's expression. Although the young man before her was handsome, he did not have any cultivation. Naturally, she would not be interested in him. However, he could not pinpoint what was wrong. He could only place all the blame on Li Lingtian. Come down and talk. I don't like to talk with my head up like this. Li Lingtian replied indifferently. He was in a good mood as his cultivation base had recovered and even improved. Now that he had encountered such a clown, he naturally wanted to play with him. This person was somewhat similar to Xue Die, but this Wind Spirit Prince was not as big as Xue Die. Just as he finished speaking, a string of bell-like laughter rang out in the air. The voice was filled with endless seduction. Li Lingtian was stunned. He did not need to think to know that it was the girl from last time. Why was she still haunting him? Yun Yaro and the others also recognized the owner of the voice, and they were confused. When the Wind Spirit Prince heard the voice, he broke into a smile. He even forgot what Li Lingtian had said as he turned around and looked into the distance. A flying ship sped over and arrived in front of Maple Leaf Manor in the blink of an eye. A beautiful girl stood on it. If it wasn't Shun Mai, who else could it be? Her charming charm and beautiful face made people infatuated. Wind Spirit, wasn't one right? He was the one who stole me. Shun Mai stood on the spaceship and spoke in a sweet voice. She pointed her jade-like finger at Li Lingtian and everyone's attention was immediately drawn to him. Long live Princess Mai. Lan Tianxiang and the others hurriedly bowed to Shun Mai with utmost respect. This action stunned all the warriors. Li Lingtian could not help but smile bitterly. It turned out that this Shun Mai had quite the background. These were all superpowers players, yet he had actually become their chess piece. Mai, why would you like a pretty boy with no cultivation? Prince Wind Spirit looked at Shun Mai with infatuation and asked in confusion. At first, Shun Mai said that she already had someone she liked. He didn't believe it, but soon, he believed it again because there were countless geniuses in this world. Mai must have been deceived by someone. Hence, she came to beat up the person who had deceived Mai. However, she never expected that the Li Lingtian Mai mentioned was an ordinary youth without any cultivation. Li Lingtian, what else do you have to say? What kind of flowery words did you use to deceive Mai? If you have the guts, fight me. The Wind Spirit Prince felt upset when he saw that Shun Mai was ignoring him. He shifted his gaze to Li Lingtian and made up his mind to give this pretty boy a good beating. Despicable, shameless. Li Lingtian looked at Shun Mai coldly as he spoke. He had actually turned himself into a shield. It was too despicable. Someone who could catch the eye of the Wind Moon Palace must have a powerful background. He hated it when big forces played such tricks in front of him. You. Shun Maier was so angry at Li Lingtian's words that her eyes turned red as 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks. Chapter 229, Acquaintance, 1. Chapter 229, Acquaintance, 1. Although she was born with the body of charm, she was still a pure and innocent girl. She was usually just having fun, but she had never come into contact with men. He just liked to see countless proud sons of heaven chasing after him. This way, he would have a little vanity. However, he had never taken anyone seriously. The last time he was ambushed by Li Lingtian, he only wanted Prince Wind Spirit to teach Li Lingtian a lesson and make him give up. Now, she was actually scolded by Li Lingtian in front of so many people. How could she not feel sad when he scolded her for being shameless? Good, you dare to scold Maier? I will teach you a good lesson today. Get lost, no one is allowed to make a move. The Wind Spirit Prince was furious. He did not harbor any ill will toward Li Lingtian, but now that his favorite person was being scolded like this, he could not tolerate it. As soon as he finished speaking, he dashed toward Li Lingtian in a flash. However, he did not activate his cultivation method. Instead, he relied solely on the strength of a martial emperor to bombard Li Lingtian. He had no intention of killing Li Lingtian. Even so, a martial emperor's power tore through the space. In the blink of an eye, it had penetrated the array light shield and arrived above Li Lingtian. Junior brother. Wind Spirit, stop. Seeing that Li Lingtian was about to be pummeled, Yun Yaro cried out in shock. At the same time, Shun Maier was also feeling regretful. She was in the wrong first, and if she killed this young man because of her, she would feel bad. However, it was too late to stop Wind Spirit. The Wind Spirit Prince's shocking fist landed on Li Lingtian's body. Bang! With a muffled sound, a sharp wind spread in all directions. Countless warriors of Maple Leaf Manor were sent flying by the strong wind. However, what happened next stunned everyone, including the Wind Spirit Prince himself. Li Lingtian did not put up any resistance as the fist landed on his chest. However, what he did not expect was that his fist seemed to have hit an iron plate. A strong rebound force knocked his strength back, and his body was also bounced back. Sure. All the warriors were shocked. An ordinary young man had taken a punch from a 5th-level martial emperor and was not sent flying as they had expected. On the contrary, a 5th-level martial emperor was sent flying. This was something that he had never imagined. One haven't fought for a long time. Then I'll play with you. But don't say that I'm snatching your woman. Even if you give her to me, I won't accept it. Li Lingtian flexed his neck with the same smile on his face. He walked forward and walked out of the array formation's light shield without any hindrance. So you're pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. One didn't expect you to be so powerful. I've been hiding my cultivation in the past. Fortunately, I didn't go to court death in the past. Countless warriors were discussing animatedly. Shun Maier also revealed a curious expression. She didn't expect this pretty boy who seemed to have no cultivation base to be so terrifying. The warriors of Maple Leaf Manor were completely stunned. They could not believe what they had just seen. So you're not a pretty boy. Alright, then let's have a good fight. Prince Wind Spirit channeled his energy to calm the rebounding meridians. He then channeled all the true essence in his body and glared at Li Lingtian. He was a martial arts fanatic and had reached the 5th level of the martial emperor realm at the age of 30. He was one of the top 10 super geniuses of the Wind Moon Palace. All right. Li Lingtian beckoned with one hand to summon the silver-winged flying dragon and the jade-eyed beast into the array formation. With a flash, he dashed toward the Wind Spirit Prince. He didn't use any weapons either. He just attacked the Wind Spirit Prince with his strength. Good timing. Prince Wind Spirit took advantage of Li Lingtian's lack of use of his weapon. His cultivation was also based on his own abilities. Rumble. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the two of them collided. 2 shocking explosions appeared, and the 2 sounds separated. There were traces of blood at the corners of their mouths, but both of them were smiling. It was impossible to tell who was the winner. Dragon guiding art. Flying dragon's strength. Rumble. The two of them had just separated when they quickly fought each other. Neither of them used any weapons, and they relied solely on their skills and fists to attack each other. A Tier 5 martial emperor powerhouse had astonishing strength. Coupled with his mystical and powerful skills, even Li Lingtian was overwhelmed. If not for the domineering true dragon body protection, he would have been blasted to death long ago. The true dragon body protection had reached the second layer of the flying dragon power, and his physique was extremely strong, which shocked Prince Wind Spirit. To everyone's surprise, Li Lingtian did not display any cultivation from the beginning to the end. It was impossible to tell what cultivation realm he was in. The heavens and earth will shatter. Proud god technique. Heaven and earth burning. Bloodthirsty explosion. Dominating heaven fist. 9 nether finger. In the air, 2 figures were flying around. They were so fast that only 2 shadows could be seen flashing. Loud explosions shook all the warriors. Lan Tianxiang and the others were shocked. The Wind Spirit Prince was only a Tier 5 martial emperor, but he was a super genius of the Wind Moon Palace. His treasures and skills were earth-shattering. He did not expect Li Lingtian to not be at a disadvantage. Even with his eyesight, he could only see the two of them constantly attacking and flashing. The earth collapsed and space was torn apart. The warriors of Maple Leaf Manor were all extremely worried, and Yun Yaro was staring at the sky without blinking. Brother Li, be careful. This is a destructive power that I have just cultivated. Heaven and earth annihilation, the power of destruction. Prince Wind Spirit shouted in the air. His body was suspended in the air as he gazed at Li Lingtian from a distance of 5 kilometers away. His expression was grave. Alright, I also have a move called Icefire 9 Heavens. One have both ice and fire attributes, and this Icefire 9 Heavens is also capable of destroying the world. Li Lingtian cracked a smile. He admired the Wind Spirit Prince for his honesty. The two of them fought non-stop in the air, and they began to appreciate each other. In the end, the two of them used all the skills in their bodies countless times, but they did not dare to defeat their opponents. They could only use their trump cards. Rustle, rustle. CC, CC. A destructive pillar of light quickly condensed in the air, and the spiritual energy above the 9 heavens continuously fused into this pillar of light. The heaven and earth annihilation of a martial monarch powerhouse was indeed terrifying. Prince Wind Spirit's expression was grave, and there was a hint of pain on his face. It was obvious that he hadn't completely controlled the destruction of the world. Within 100 miles, countless living beings were dying. Warriors below the martial king realm were directly suppressed and fainted. Even martial arts grandmasters were suffocated by the pressure. Li Lingtian's face was filled with an unprecedented seriousness. Such an attack was already a threat to him. With a flick of his divine sense, the ice and fire ring appeared in front of him. Dragon energy continuously circulated in his meridians. He raised his hands, causing the air to tremble. He did not attack, but the air was filled with unease. When experts attacked, their every move carried destruction. When he raised his hands, a ball of flames burned continuously. The temperature of the air suddenly rose, and the air seemed to be burning. However, in the other hand, there was a glacier. The appearance of the glacier caused the temperature of the space to drop strangely, and the space seemed to be frozen. 2 extreme attributes appeared on a person's body. The 2 extreme attributes repelled each other. All the experts were stunned. Ice and fire dual martial souls, even in the Azure continent, had never appeared before. Such a heaven-defying monster had actually appeared in the Maple Leaf Manor. Icefire 9 Heavens, destruction. As he clasped his hands together, Li Lingtian easily fused the 2 ultimate attributes together. A 3-colored beam of light shot toward the heaven and earth annihilation beam. Space came to a standstill as Li Lingtian and Prince Wind Spirit looked at each other with smiles on their faces. Rumble. There was a shocking explosion, and a destructive halo shot out in all directions. Wherever the halo passed, there was destruction. The death and destruction aura in the air corroded everything in the world. Thud. The sound of blood spurting could be heard. Countless experts trembled in front of this halo and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the destruction wherever the halo passed in horror. At that moment, Li Lingtian and Prince Wind Spirit spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their faces were pale, but the smile on their faces remained. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. The two of them laughed at the same time. Their laughter was arrogant and without any color. It was a happy laughter that came from the bottom of their hearts. The two of them rushed towards each other in a flash. Everyone's expression changed again. They had been implicated by the two of them just now. If the two of them continued to fight, they would really become the fish that had been implicated. However, to everyone's surprise, the two fists collided without any strength. The two of them looked at each other again. This was the mutual appreciation between experts. From now on, Li Lingtian will be my brother, Prince Wind Spirit. Whoever goes against my brother is going against me, Wind Spirit. Prince Wind Spirit said loudly, which stunned all the warriors. They were fighting so fiercely just now, but now they were calling each other brothers. Moreover, the Wind Spirit Prince and Li Lingtian did not seem to be faking it, as they were both peerless geniuses. There was no need for them to put on an act. All right. One won't sit idly by if anything happens to Prince Wind Spirit. Li Lingtian was taken aback. He did not expect the Wind Spirit Prince to be so straightforward. He then said loudly, "It's not a waste of my life to have a friend who's like a brother." At once, the Maple Leaf Villa warriors were relieved. The soliciting Moon Mountain warriors who were watching the battle were shocked. Now that Li Lingtian had displayed his shocking strength and had even become brothers with Prince Wind Spirit, who would dare to provoke him? If you had chosen someone else, I definitely wouldn't have agreed to it. But for him, I can rest assured that you'll be my younger sister in the future. If anyone bullies you, just let me know. I'll make sure that he regrets being born into this world. Prince Wind Spirit pondered for a while and made a decision. He then said loudly to Shun Mai who was on the flying ship. Chapter 230, Playing with Fire, 1. Chapter 230, Playing with Fire, 1. Brother Li, this is my token. If you need anything, just call me. The disciples of the Wind Moon Palace will treat this token as if it's me. But you better not bully my Otherwise, I will never let you off. The destruction of heaven and earth is not my strongest move. Moonrise Mountains are in turmoil. You should be careful. With you here, the people of Wind Moon Palace won't get involved. With that said, he waved his hand and a jade token was presented to Li Lingtian. He then flashed and beckoned to Lan Tianxiang and the others before he swiftly flew into the sky. In the blink of an eye, 6 figures vanished into the horizon. They came and left quickly, leaving Li Lingtian no chance to speak. All the warriors were also stunned. This Wind Spirit Prince was simply a martial arts fanatic. He had a one-track mind, but he was willing to risk his life for his own brother. Li Lingtian was speechless. He did not know this Shun Mai at all. He had only met her once before and now, he was being described in such a manner by this Wind Spirit Prince. Judging from Prince Wind Spirit's expression, he must have connected him with Shun Mai. He was truly wronged. Now, the entire Moonrise Mountains knew about it. Do you know that if you dare to bully me, he will find trouble with you? Shun Mai's face also turned red. She had never seen such a scene before, and she had never thought that things would turn out this way. He glared at Li Lingtian in a show of force before shifting his gaze to Yun Yaro with a victorious smile on his face. Hey! Li Lingtian could not help but shake his head when he saw Shun Mai's expression. This matter was only getting worse the more he explained it. He could only wave his hand and put away the few demon beasts. Then, he turned around and cancelled the array. After being attacked by a few martial emperors, this formation was not complete. He could just build another one in the future. After entering the array, they looked into the distance. All the martial artists felt a wave of fear and quickly flew away. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion shocked all the martial artists of Maple Leaf Manor. Li Lingtian did not even look at her as he walked inside. It turned out that Shun Mai's flying ship had landed at the Maple Leaf Manor. After putting away the flying ship, she quickly caught up. Hey, are you not going to care about me anymore? Shun Mai came before Li Lingtian with a fierce expression. She glared at Li Lingtian before revealing a seductive smile that was enough to enrapture the world. Do I know you? Don't be so unreasonable, understand? Li Lingtian walked past them and headed back to his own courtyard. The other Maple Leaf Villa warriors had also returned to their own residences. No one dared to provoke Li Lingtian and Shun Mai. One of them was the prince of the Wind Moon Palace while the other was the princess of the Queen's Palace. On the other hand, Li Lingtian was a super powerhouse, a spirit alchemist, and the brother of the Wind Spirit Prince. With such an identity, how many people in the Azure continent would dare to provoke him? In the sky, 6 figures were flying at high speed. In an instant, they were thousands of miles away. You guys go back by yourselves. I'm going back to the Wind Moon Palace to cultivate in seclusion. This kid is too abnormal. If not for my thick skin, my bones would definitely have fallen apart. Prince Wind Spirit looked at the 5 martial emperors flying behind him, turned around, and said coldly with a cold and arrogant look in his eyes. Prince, isn't it a little abrupt for you to become brothers with Li Lingtian? Or does Prince have other thoughts? Lan Tianxiang was puzzled. He could not accept the fact that Prince had become brothers with someone who had started a fight the moment they met. In theory, Li Lingtian was also a rival for his woman. Even though Li Lingtian had been used by Shun Mai, it was still a little demeaning for them to become brothers. There are some things that you can't understand. Although I've only met him once and we're both opponents, I can feel his character. Although one can't tell his cultivation base, I'm sure he hasn't reached the martial emperor realm. To be able to be on par with me in the martial arts grandmaster realm, he is definitely a heaven-defying person. Some people are born to be brothers, while others are born to be opponents. There are also brothers who are more terrifying than enemies. There are also people who look like opponents but can be trusted. Wind Moon Palace, don't get involved in the matters of the soliciting Moon Mountain Range. If necessary, help him. Mai's heart is not on me. I'm also focused on martial arts. Martial arts is vast and boundless. To have an opponent and a brother, it's not a waste of my time in this world. Prince Wind Spirit looked at the sky. He was a stark contrast to his previous single-minded self. He could only talk to himself about his subordinates' confusion. Whether he could understand it or not was not his business. He had lost a woman today, but he had gained a brother. If he couldn't get it, there was no point in forcing it. His master had only allowed him to marry Shun Mai for the sake of the alliance between the Wind Moon Palace and the Queen Palace. After saying that, he smiled and waved his hand. The space trembled slightly and a jade slip appeared in front of him. The jade slip gave off a silver light. When the silver light disappeared, the Wind Spirit Prince also disappeared, leaving the 5 martial emperors in the air. Damn it, that demonic beast, it seems like revenge is impossible. It even hit me when it stopped. Lan Tianxiang watched his little master leave and rubbed his shoulders resentfully. Thinking of that detestable demonic beast made him angry. He had clearly shouted for him to stop, but he still wanted to give him a blow. He was beaten until he saw stars. The space around them trembled. The 5 of them glanced at the soliciting Moon Mountain Range and left reluctantly. The entire soliciting Moon Mountain Range was in an uproar. Countless warriors were talking about how Maple Leaf Villa's Li Lingtian had snatched a woman and snatched her away from Wind Moon Palace's Wind Spirit Prince. It turned out that the peerless beauty, Shun Mai, was actually the princess of the Queen's Palace. This made all the geniuses who had pursued Shun Mai shiver. Li Lingtian fought with Prince Feng Ling and became brothers in the end. Li Lingtian's cultivation was so profound that no one could tell what his cultivation level was. Moreover, he had a 5th-tier 8th-grade demonic beast, as well as a 5th-tier and 4th-tier demonic beast. Their strength was extremely terrifying. Some families and experts who harbored evil intentions in the soliciting Moon Mountains no longer had any thoughts of doing so. Li Lingtian's identity was different now. Even if they could defeat Li Lingtian, who would dare to endure the wrath of the Wind Spirit Prince? If the Wind Spirit Prince's brother were to defeat Li Lingtian, it would be a slap to the Wind Spirit Prince's face. Slapping the Wind Spirit Prince's face was equivalent to offending the Wind Moon Palace. Offending the Wind Moon Palace in the Azure continent was equivalent to courting death. The Queen's Palace's princess seemed to be on Li Lingtian's side as well. With two of the three major factions involved, only a fool would dare to offend Li Lingtian. However, the owner of all the forces and martial artists' opinions was now smiling bitterly. Are you done? You ruined my reputation and integrity, and now you're still staying. Are you going to let me live? Li Lingtian sat in the room and looked at the peerless beauty across from him. Such a beauty was supposed to make all the men in the world go crazy, but Li Lingtian felt helpless now. I ruined your reputation? Who told you to provoke me? Wind Spirit said that if you dare to bully me, he will find trouble with you. Shun Maya sat on the bed arrogantly, a proud look on her face. Her every move was filled with a seductive charm. Now, he completely ignored Li Lingtian's bitter smile. He thought to himself, who asked you to provoke me? This is what happens. However, she felt a little depressed and unconvinced. She was pitilessly beautiful and was the goddess in the hearts of countless men. The people who pursued her could circle around the Azure continent. As long as he nodded his head, countless geniuses would become his foundation. But in front of this young man, she was actually so pathetic. Could it be because of you, Nyaro Yaro? Little girl, if you anger this young master, hey. Li Lingtian gave a wicked smile that would disgust any girl. When Shun Maya saw Li Lingtian's expression, she felt a wave of fear. Even though she liked to cause trouble, she was a pure and innocent girl. If Li Lingtian really did something to him, he would be in trouble. However, when she recalled Li Lingtian's initial behavior, she was relieved. Li Lingtian was just scaring her on purpose so that she would leave. So what if I anger you? Are you going to eat me up? An innocent smile appeared on Shun Maya's face as she giggled. The combination of charm and purity, this was an extremely perfect stunner. This young master will eat you. A sinister smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as the blood vessels in his body flared. A faint fragrance wafted into his nose and his consciousness drifted away. The fragrance came from Shun Maya's body, but Li Lingtian did not notice it at all. In a flash, he arrived before Shun Maya. The smile on her face gradually became a little strange. Shun Maya was also startled. However, Li Lingtian stopped in front of her at that moment. The two of them were less than a foot apart. Are you a demonic beast that eats humans? Shun Maya's lively eyes looked at Li Lingtian as her heart bloomed with joy. This fellow was just trying to scare her. This princess is not scared. Little girl, you're finished. Li Lingtian immediately pulled Shun Maya up and gently pulled her into his arms. The fragrance became even stronger, almost reaching his soul. Li Lingtian's blood boiled as he held her soft and tender body tightly in his arms. He did not know why he was so frivolous. Before Shun Maya could react, Li Lingtian had pinned her down on the bed. Shun Maya couldn't move at all. Looking at the handsome face in front of her, her whole body went limp. This was the first time she had come into contact with a man, and she was being pressed down like this. Her whole body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Chapter 231, Shun Maya leaves. Chapter 231, Shun Maya leaves. The two of them looked at each other. This scene was extremely ambiguous. Li Lingtian's eyes were burning with passion. He was a normal man, so how could he resist the endless temptation of this seductive beauty? Moreover, the alluring fragrance kept tempting him, making him lose his mind. Shun Maya's entire body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. This was the first time she had been together with a man. She had never thought that she would go overboard with her fire. A trace of desire gradually appeared in his eyes. There was also fear in this desire. She slowly closed her eyes and wrapped her jade-like hands around Li Lingtian's neck. With a gentle tug, she pressed her seductive red lips against Li Lingtian's neck. Instantly, the two of them trembled. This feeling made them depressed and unable to extricate themselves. Gradually, Li Lingtian lost his mind completely. At this point, he could no longer control himself. With a wave of his hand, an array was cast, covering the room and closing the door. Instantly, the room was filled with the color of spring, and the sound of ecstasy could be heard. After an unknown period of time, the room finally fell silent. When Li Lingtian woke up the next day, he felt that something was amiss. Something was pressing down on his chest. It was warm, soft, and smooth like jade. He looked over and his heart trembled. A delicate and perfect body was half leaning on him, and her delicate face was buried in his chest. Yes. Li Lingtian's movement woke up the people around him. However, what left Li Lingtian speechless was that Shun Mai-er's head moved on his chest as if she was trying to sleep more comfortably. However, she soon sensed that something was amiss. She carefully opened her eyes and saw Li Lingtian staring at her. Her heart trembled as she thought of what happened yesterday. She had actually slept with this man. If she had sex with this man, her pure body would be given to this man. Now that she was completely naked, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Li Lingtian's heart was in a mess. He did not know what had happened to him yesterday, but he had lost his mind. The two of them didn't say anything. Shun Mai-er hurriedly put on her clothes. Her face was flushed red, and when she moved, a pained expression appeared on her face. She thought about how crazy the two of them were yesterday. "I'm sorry." After Li Lingtian had tidied his clothes, a hint of guilt appeared on his face. He did not know what to do after doing such a thing to a girl. "It's none of your business. My constitution is different from others. You can't be blamed. I'm also responsible." Shun Mai-er looked at Li Lingtian's expression. The elegant man had actually become so restrained. She knew how guilty Li Lingtian was. She didn't understand why she didn't feel any regret, nor did she hate the man who took her virginity. "You are my man in the future. If you dare to bully me, one will not let you off." After saying that, Shun Mai-er flashed and left the courtyard. With a loud boom, the huge spaceship quickly flew up from Maple Leaf Manor and disappeared into the horizon. When Li Lingtian heard the commotion outside, he felt an inexplicable sense of loss. He knew that Shun Mai-er had left, but he did not chase after her. She had been confused and did not know why she had done such a thing. He tidied up the room. The red on the bed made his heart feel heavy. This Shun Mai-er looked extremely charming, but she was a pure girl. The more she was like this, the heavier his heart became. If this Shun Mai-er was just a bad girl, he wouldn't care so much. Moreover, Shun Mai-er's departure had made him feel a little disappointed. She didn't want him to feel guilty and responsible. The last sentence was also deliberately pretending to be domineering. A day passed in a daze. Li Lingtian could not calm down even after meditating and cultivating. In the end, he could only channel his ice soul martial soul and gradually enter the state of emptiness. Yun Yaro had been here once, but she did not disturb Li Lingtian when she saw him cultivating. However, when he realized that Shun Mai-er was missing, he felt strange. However, he was happy that she wasn't here. After the first battle, Li Lingtian finally experienced the true power of a martial royal realm powerhouse. Although it seemed that he was not at a disadvantage in the battle with the Wind Spirit Prince of the Martial Emperor, he only relied on the true dragon body protection and the powerful and magical dragon energy. If he were to really fight Prince Wind Spirit, he would have to use the Heaven and Earth Sword Roar and the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber to win. However, after reaching the third rank of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, coupled with the extreme Earth rank skills, ordinary martial emperors were not his match. All in all, as long as it was not an expert above the 5th level of the martial emperor realm, he could defeat them alone. Even if he could not defeat them, he could still use the thunderclap wings to escape. After getting used to it in the room for a while, he got used to his martial arts Grandmaster realm again. Outside the soliciting Moon Mountains, countless warriors no longer had any ill intentions. They dared not provoke Li Lingtian. Not to mention provoking Li Lingtian, even an ordinary powerhouse would not touch a disciple of Maple Leaf Villa. This was to prevent Li Lingtian from covering up for his own shortcomings and causing unnecessary trouble. During this period of time, Li Lingtian had also refined the Qingyang pill. The recovery of cultivation was also a matter of time. As long as there was enough time, he could quickly increase his cultivation. It seemed quiet outside, but Li Lingtian noticed that many powerhouses had arrived at the soliciting Moon Mountains. These powerhouses were all at the level of martial emperors. Moreover, they were the very powerful martial emperors. Li Lingtian found it strange. This was because the Wind Spirit Prince had said before he left that the Wind Moon Palace in the soliciting Moon Mountains would not be involved and that he should be careful. It seemed that Prince Wind Spirit had known about what was going on in the soliciting Moon Mountains. Moreover, this secret was public, but he did not know about it. He asked Yun Xiaoling, but Yun Xiaoling knew nothing. Li Lingtian did not bother about that. Those who came were all martial royal realm powerhouses. It seemed that only the super powerhouses knew about these things. Yun Xiaoling was only a martial king. How could he have come into contact with such matters? However, on this day, Nanming Alchemist came to visit. Sir Nanming, please forgive me for not welcoming you. Li Lingtian said with a smile as the two of them greeted each other. Sir Lingtian, you're too polite. One didn't take the liberty to come here and disturb you, right? Alchemist Nanming cupped his fists and said with a faint smile. The two of them were polite for a while before entering the courtyard. In the courtyard, the two of them sat down casually. When spirit alchemists were together, it was inevitable for them to share their insights on alchemy. Li Lingtian was no exception as both of them shared their insights. After a full half an hour, both of their faces were filled with satisfaction. Everyone's experience in pill refinement was different, but such an exchange of experience could also complement each other's strengths. After the exchange, the alchemist Nanming pondered for a moment before a serious expression appeared on his face. He then proposed a deal to Li Lingtian. Sir Lingtian, are you able to accomplish the matter regarding the soliciting Moon Mountains? Alchemist Nanming said with a probing tone. I've been in seclusion all day, and I've been isolated from the outside world. I hope Sir Nanming can give me some pointers. Li Lingtian's face was filled with curiosity as he smiled. Although he was not as old as these old foxes, he had a lot of experience. Moreover, in terms of intelligence, few could compare to him. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, 300 years ago, a martial royal realm expert discovered an ancient cave abode. However, the cave abode was heavily guarded by traps and countless formations. No one could enter it safely. It is said that this ancient cave mansion was opened by an almighty expert tens of thousands of years ago. It opens once every 100 years. However, no one who enters can come out safely. This time, another 100 years have passed. Countless experts have gathered here for this ancient cave mansion. The alchemist Nanming was curious when he saw that Li Lingtian was unaware of the ancient cave abode. He then recalled that the young man was only 17 or 18 years old. Naturally, he was unaware of these things. Moreover, this was just right. He could pull in a companion. At that time, his chances would be greater. Ancient cave mansion? There's such a thing. No wonder I saw so many experts rushing over during this period of time. It turns out that they are here for the ancient cave mansion. Li Lingtian revealed an icy expression. Since it was an ancient cave dwelling, there should be treasures inside. The experts of the ancient cave mansion were naturally not comparable to the experts of the divine martial continent. However, he did not understand why Nanming would tell him. Could it be that he wanted to join forces with him? That's right. There are at least 800 to 1,000 martial royal realm experts who have entered. All the experts in Moonrise City have the chance to enter. Why don't Sir Lingtian join hands with me? We'll split the treasures we obtain equally. The alchemist Nanming went straight to the point, leaving Li Lingtian stunned. Join hands? Just the two of us definitely can't do it. Sir Nanming should have found someone else. Li Lingtian said with a smile. With so many powerhouses entering, the chances of obtaining the treasure were slim. Of course, I've already found 3 people. When the time comes, if we join forces, we'll have more chances to fight. Moreover, I know a little about the seats inside. Coupled with Sir Lingtian's array Dao, it won't be difficult to obtain the treasure. Nanming laughed as well. Li Lingtian's alchemy Dao was formidable and his strength was profound. Furthermore, he was more knowledgeable in array Dao. During the recent battle, it was believed that no one else other than Li Lingtian would be able to cast this defensive array in Maple Leaf Villa. There were traps and formations everywhere in the ancient cave dwelling. If there was someone who knew formations, the chances would be much higher. 1c. I wonder if one know the three of them and how strong they are. Also, there must be a certain limit to entering the ancient cavern abode. Otherwise, there would be countless experts in the Soliciting Moon mountain range and the Soliciting Moon city. In that case, the ancient cavern abode would not be overcrowded. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. He knew that there were many simple entrances to this cave abode. Otherwise, Nanming would not have sought him out. In the Azure continent, he had a quota to go to Hidden Dragon Island and Heavenly Devil Canyon. In the Azure continent, the rules should be similar. Chapter 232, Chapter 232, Farewell to Yun Yao Yao. Chapter 232, Farewell to Yun Yao Yao. Sir Ling Tian is right. There are indeed many restrictions in there. Each sect only has 2 slots to enter. Only martial emperors can enter. Martial emperors who enter have to pay Lu million lower spiritual stones to buy a teleportation pearl. Only martial emperors with teleportation beads can enter and resist the most basic decaying qi inside. Alchemist Nanming smiled. 100 million spirit stones for each 8 martial emperor was indeed not something an ordinary expert could afford. Moreover, each sect only had 2 slots. Even if a super sect had spirit stones, only 2 people could enter. However, there were also some sects and families who faked it and took the spots from some small factions. Because some middle-class families and sects simply couldn't take out 200 million spirit stones, and going in would be suicide, this quota naturally went to the super sects. Oh, 1c. It seems that Sir Nanming is not a clan or a sect. Li Lingtian was shocked as well. If that was the case, some of the super sects would have a chance to take advantage of it. A normal sect could send 2 people in, but a super sect could send a dozen people in. If that was the case, some lone martial emperors would be killed. Nanming had come to find him to join forces, probably because he was worried that such a thing would happen. A few years ago, when one was refining pills for a few sects, one obtained a teleportation pearl. If Sir Ling Tian goes, I can give you one at the original price. Alchemist Nanming took out a teleportation bead. The teleportation bead was the size of a fist, and it emitted a wood elemental aura. Even though it was a pearl made of wood, there were countless arrays within it. Li Lingtian could easily tell that the pearl was unusual with just one look. It should be about time for the opening of the ancient cave dwelling. Li Lingtian did not say whether he wanted the teleportation pearl or not. Instead, he was concerned about the time it would be activated. Although the price of the teleportation pearl was a little expensive, there must be some good treasures in it since it could attract the experts of Moonrise Mountain Range and Moonrise City to compete for it. It would not be a loss if he could get some. It will open in 3 days. 3 days later. That's right. Countless sects and forces have gathered here, waiting for the opening of the ancient cave dwelling. Since Sir Nanming thinks so highly of me, then I will risk my life to accompany you. All right, that's it. You only need 10 million for this teleportation bead. Li Lingtian did not say anything further. The Nanming alchemist was extremely famous in the Soliciting Moon Mountains, and he believed that he would not provoke him for a mere 10 million spiritual stones. Even if there was a conspiracy, it would be in the ancient cave abode. According to him, there were countless experts in Moonrise City and the Moonrise Mountains, so he did not dare to act rashly. After putting away the teleportation pearl, alchemist Nanming bade farewell and left. He would meet them in the Demon King Cave in the depths of the Soliciting Moon Mountains in 3 days. All the experts were gathered at that place. The Demon King Cave was also the critical point of the ancient cave dwelling. Li Lingtian watched Nanming leave with a faint smile on his face. He was still too inexperienced to be treated as cannon fodder. Although Nanming was a 3rd-level martial emperor, he was not on the same level as the experts of other families and sects. In a place like that, who cared what kind of spirit alchemist or divine array master you were? Treasures were the most important. No one would easily offend an alchemist outside, but in such a dangerous place, alchemists were still targets to be killed. Moreover, that place was a place where they could kill their opponents. If they did not resolve their hatred and grudges in that place, it would be difficult outside. Nan Ming saw that his strength was not bad, coupled with his identity as a demon beast. Otherwise, he would not have found him. Li Lingtian gave a brief explanation and said that he would be leaving for a period of time in 2 days. He didn't need to worry about Maple Leaf Manor. As long as he wasn't a fool, he wouldn't easily provoke Maple Leaf Manor. Yun Yaro Yaro was the one who was most worried about him. Ever since Shun Maier came, Yun Yaro Yaro had always felt sour about their relationship. He didn't know what his junior brother and Shun Maier did that night. Moreover, he didn't know if Shun Maier would return after she left. On the surface, Shun Maier looked extremely charming, but she was a pure girl. Moreover, it was the kind that was extremely pure. It was just that under the influence of her body of charm, purity and charm were fused together. Such a girl was peerless and beautiful. It would be strange if his junior brother didn't like her. Although he and Shun Maier had their own merits, Shun Maier's identity made all the men in the world go crazy over her. The princess of the Queen's Palace, the future master of the Queen's Palace. With the identity of the Queen's Palace, it was enough to make the powers of the Azure continent wary. He thought about how he had been naked when he came into contact with the 9 yin absolute meridians some time ago. The relationship between the two of them was ambiguous and her heart had changed. If Li Lingtian ignored her, she did not know what to do. Junior brother, be careful when the time comes. Senior sister will wait for your safe return. Yun Yaro Yaro looked at Li Lingtian. No one could stand in his way. All she could do was silently give him her blessings and support. His cultivation base was too low, so it would only add to Li Lingtian's troubles if he went. The only thing he could do now was to cultivate diligently. When he became stronger one day, he would be able to roam the world with Li Lingtian. The Queen's Palace, the Wind Moon Palace, the House of Storms. If he had the backing of the 3 major forces, he could also help his junior brother. Perhaps he had a power like the Queen's Palace, so he wouldn't lose to Shun Maier. Li Lingtian and Yun Yaro Yaro had never expected that a mysterious force would appear in the Azure continent 2 years later. Although this force was not as powerful as the Wind Moon Palace, it was not something the 10 great families could compare to. Intelligence was everywhere in the world, and all the intelligence was controlled by this mysterious crystal pavilion. Similarly, no one in the divine martial continent had seen the pavilion master's true face. And this force had appeared because of Shun Maier's influence. I understand. Senior sister, Maple Leaf Manor is in a difficult situation. After you removed the 9 yin terminal meridians, your cultivation speed has increased greatly. Take these spirit stones and pills to cultivate. When one come out, 1 foot 11 inches guide you on your cultivation. By then, I'll definitely be a fairy who looks down on the world. Li Lingtian reached out and caressed Yun Yaroiro's jade-like face. This senior sister was so beautiful that she could topple a city. If he was someone who was content with his current situation, he would never leave Maple Leaf Villa. After saying that, he activated his divine consciousness in the divine dragon ring. He had collected countless storage pouches in the divine dragon ring, and he could use them now. A total of 500 million spirit stones, as well as countless pills and weapons, were stored in the storage bag. These pills, spirit stones, and weapons were enough for Yun Yaro Yaro to use until she reached the Martial Emperor realm. Yes, I'll wait for you. If one reach the Martial Royal realm, 1 foot 11 inches marry you. Yun Yaro Yaro reached out her little hand, her little face flushed red, looking extremely cute. She reached out her little hand and clenched her pink fist, her jade-like little finger making a pinky gesture. Li Lingtian smiled and extended his right hand as well. The two of them made a pinky promise like children. By the way, senior sister, when I was adventuring in the past, I obtained a kind of fruit, the 1,000-year-old vermilion fruit. It has the effect of preserving one's youth and can also improve one's physique. Li Lingtian took out a vermilion fruit. In the past, he had not recovered his cultivation base, so it was not appropriate for him to take out some good items. Now that he had recovered, he was not afraid of 1,000-year-old vermilion fruit. Really? That's great. Thank you, junior brother. Unrivaled was excited when she saw the blood-red fruit that was almost translucent. As long as it was a fruit that could retain one's youth, no girl would not be tempted. All women in the world cared about their looks. Especially beautiful girls, they all wanted to stay young forever. Seeing the fruit, Unrivaled hurriedly snatched it over and hugged it in her arms, as if she was worried that someone would snatch it. Li Lingtian stared at Unrivaled's chest and chuckled. Unrivaled was stunned for a moment before she understood what was going on. Her face was flushed red. The last time he removed the 9 yin absolute meridians, he was only left with a tube top. However, it was not enough to hide it, and Li Lingtian saw everything. Now that she saw Li Lingtian's smile, she naturally thought of the situation that day. Now that she thought about it, she felt like she was looking for a hole to hide in. Senior sister, take care. Li Lingtian looked at the sky. 3 days was neither too long nor too short, but he knew nothing about the soliciting moon mountains, so he had no choice but to enter first. Junior brother, you should call me elder sister Unrivaled. Senior sister will always wait for junior brother to return. Seeing that Li Lingtian was about to leave, Unrivaled's joy from earlier vanished. Even with the vermilion fruit on her, she was not in the mood anymore. If Li Lingtian were to leave, what use would it be for the vermilion fruit to remain forever youthful? Unrivaled sis. Li Lingtian nodded as he called out gently. The thunderclap wings appeared and he disappeared in a flash. When he reappeared, he was already 20 miles away. He didn't want to see the tears of a beautiful woman. Love was always the weakness of martial artists. After he reached the 3rd rank of martial arts grandmaster, the thunderclap wings could also reduce the teleportation distance of the thunderclap wings by 20 miles. Tears rolled down Unrivaled's cheeks as she watched Li Lingtian disappear. I must become strong. She turned around and walked into Maple Leaf Manor. The other disciples didn't dare to disturb Unrivaled when they saw her expression. For the next few days, Unrivaled didn't leave her room. Li Lingtian was reluctant to part with her, but there were times when a man's actions could not be avoided. There were still many things that he had to complete. Tang Zimeng from Azure Continent and Tang Qingyu from Azure Continent. These were all things that he had to resolve. If he wanted to solve these problems, he had to become stronger. A martial arts grandmaster might be an expert, but he was nothing in front of a martial emperor. In the Azure Continent, there were countless martial emperors and martial supremacies. With his cultivation, he was not even comparable to an ant. What qualifications did he have to accomplish these things? The soliciting Moon Mountain Range was the first starting point for his Azure Continent. He had to make good use of this starting point. His body flashed rapidly, and he kept his thunderclap wings. A long sword flew out, and he flew toward the depths of the soliciting Moon Mountains. Chapter 233, Chapter 233, Old Monster Tianming, 1. Chapter 233, Old Monster Tianming, 1. The soliciting Moon Mountain Range had a radius of several 100,000 miles, and this was only the length of the outer edge of the mountain range. No one dared to enter the depths of the mountain range. It was said that there were terrifying demonic beasts and some unknown dangers in the depths. Even powerful martial artists would get lost if they went deep. It was like a maze everywhere. However, during this period of time, countless experts had entered the depths together. Because the ancient cave abode opened once every 100 years, no one knew what treasures were in the ancient cave abode. It was not only the forces of Moonrise Mountain Range that had entered the city, but also the forces and experts from other places in Moonrise City. There were even figures of powerful cultivators outside soliciting Moon City. No matter what, there were always some fakes. The bigger the fist, the more reason. Even though Li Lingtian was reluctant to part with it, he could only endure it as he swiftly traversed the mountain range. Occasionally, they would encounter 1 or 2 powerful martial emperors. Among the martial emperors who came here, a few of them knew Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian did not recognize any of them. Nevertheless, No one would cause trouble outside the cave abode because they knew that no matter who won or lost, they would end up like mantises pouncing on cicadas. I didn't expect the spiritual energy in the soliciting moon mountains to be so dense. No wonder those experts chose to build their residences in the soliciting moon mountains. Li Lingtian muttered to himself as he flew. Although a martial arts grandmaster could fly in the air, it was much more energy efficient to use sword kinesi's flight. It was best if he did not expend too much quintessential essence. 3 days was just the opening of the ancient cave dwelling. It was not said that the ancient cave dwelling would be closed in 3 days. Moreover, this ancient cave abode would only open for a month. If they could not find their way out after a month, they would stay inside forever. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Boom, boom. From time to time, the sound of flying ships and the sound of experts flying through the air could be heard. Li Lingtian was the only one who flew in at a moderate pace. Many powerhouses looked at him with disdain when they saw that he had no cultivation base. For such a martial artist to be able to ride a flying sword, he was definitely not a martial arts grandmaster. There were also many warriors like this who came to the depths, but they did not go in. This was because these martial arts grandmasters and martial kings were only here to kill the demonic beasts and watch the show. 2 days passed. On the 3rd day, Li Lingtian finally arrived at the deepest part of the mountain range. He didn't know whether it was the deepest part of the cave or not, because other than spiritual energy, there was also a terrifying miasma here. If one's cultivation was low, they would feel dizzy and even die here if they weren't careful. The deeper they flew, the more experts they encountered. Moreover, these experts were all martial emperors. Martial kings and martial grandmasters were rarely seen. Li Lingtian stopped in front of a huge canyon. There were more than 2,000 powerhouses in front of the canyon. Half of them were martial emperors, while the rest of the martial arts grandmasters and martial kings were there to watch the show. "Ha, old monster Tianming, I didn't expect you to come as well." A loud and clear voice sounded. When the voice fell, an old man floated in the air strangely and swept his gaze down sharply. His eyes fell on an old man at the 8th level of the martial emperor realm. The old man's hair and beard were all white, but his whole body was in a mess, like a beggar. Hearing this voice, countless experts looked at the old man with fear on their faces. There was more than one rank 8 martial emperor present, but when they saw the old man, they were terrified. It turned out that this old monster Tianming naturally liked women, especially virgins under the age of 20. There were at least 8,000 women who had their yin plucked to death by his hands. Moreover, they were all ferocious by nature. All the women who had been plucked by him had died tragically. More importantly, this old monster Tianming was terrifyingly powerful. Almost no one in the same level was his match. Even a few 9th-level martial emperors had died in his hands. "Old ghost Dark Abyss, aren't you here as well?" Hee. Old monster Tianming's gaze left the women and looked at old ghost Yin Ming in the air. He then revealed a mischievous smile. The two of them could be said to have the same bad taste. One was born with a love for women, while the other was born with a love for killing. He refined the souls and true chi of martial artists and finally turned them into his own cultivation. He even refined countless puppets. There were countless innocent martial artists in the Dark Abyss flag. The Dark Abyss Old Ghost was also an 8th-level martial emperor. He would not let go of any martial artists or ordinary people. He had once slaughtered 6 towns in a row in 10 days, and these towns were all places where ordinary warriors and ordinary people lived. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary people were killed and their souls were refined into puppets. Li Lingtian looked at the 2 Tier 8 martial emperors with a calm expression on his face. However, he felt a tinge of fear in his heart. If he were to be with a martial emperor, he would not have any advantage at all. Any random expert could make him feel afraid. This strength was what was important. The 2 8th-level martial emperors were meditating and resting, waiting for the opening of the ancient cave mansion. In the sky, a super expert flew over from time to time. Their cultivation was all existences above Tier 5. Rumble. With a deafening boom, a gigantic spaceship appeared in the sky. Li Lingtian was shocked when he looked up. The person on the spaceship was someone he was familiar with, and someone who made him feel inexplicable. Shun Mai'er's face was still smiling flirtatiously, but there was a tinge of sadness in her smile. Only Li Lingtian could sense this sadness. Behind Shun Mai'er, there were 5 super experts. 4 of them were at the 7th level of the Martial Emperor realm, and 1 was at the 8th level. The flying ship arrived in front of the canyon of the Demon King Cave, but it did not land. Instead, it floated in the air. Countless experts were shocked, and many proud sons of heaven smiled when they saw Shun Mai'er on the flying ship. Old monster Tian Ming had an evil smile on his face, but when he saw the symbol on the spaceship, he felt a trace of fear. I didn't expect the people from the Queen's Palace to be here. It's really lively. At this moment, another super expert flew over. He was a peak 8th level Martial Emperor, and his entire body emitted a faint scholarly aura. Hasn't Master Duan Yu of the Howran faction also come? On the spaceship, the leader of the group, an 8th level Martial Emperor, said loudly with a proud look on his face. I heard that there are many treasures in the soliciting Moon Mountain's ancient cave abode. I'm here to join in the fun. Scholar Duan Yu laughed and said loudly. He then descended and found a quiet place to meditate and rest. From time to time, a powerful martial emperor would come from behind. These martial emperors were all reputable figures in Moonrise City. Li Lingtian took a quick look and found that those who came were mostly martial emperors. Moreover, there were 7 rank 8 martial emperors and 1 rank 9 martial emperor. There were more than 30 rank 7 martial emperors, hundreds of rank 5 and 6 martial emperors, and the rest were all powerful. He closed his eyes to rest, but his mood could not calm down. Shun Mai'er was smiling as she looked at Li Lingtian intentionally or unintentionally. However, Li Lingtian was meditating and resting. Countless proud sons of the heavens were also constantly trying to curry favor with Shun Mai'er. Such a peerless beauty, no man in the world wouldn't go crazy for her. Dark Nether, how about the 2 of us join hands? Old monster Tian Ming kept looking at Shun Mai'er, who was in the flying ship, and his lips kept opening. Tianming, we can join hands, but don't cause trouble for me. I don't need to think about your little hobby. You're also having bad thoughts. Don't touch the people from the Queen's Palace. Yin Ming's lips kept opening and closing as he glanced at the flying ship. A hint of fear appeared on his face. In the Azure continent, anyone could be provoked, but not the Wind Moon Palace, Queen's Palace, and House of Storms. Since you know my hobby, you will know that I will make a move. As long as you help me this time, I will not let you down. Don't you want the Yin God Pearl? If you help me, I'll give it to you. What do you think? Old monster Tian Ming revealed an evil smile as he stared at old ghost Yin Ming in the distance. Really, you will really take out the Yin God Pearl? This Yin God Pearl is your life-saving treasure. It would be strange if you took it out. If you give me the Yin God Pearl, I'll risk my life. But I can't do it here. I'll find a chance to kill all of them. I can't let anyone know. The old ghost Yin Ming became excited, and his eyes lit up. He had wanted to obtain this Yin God Pearl for a long time. If he could obtain it, his Yin Ming flag's strength would increase dramatically. His own cultivation could also be raised to the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm, or even reach the peak. However, it was impossible to snatch the Yin God Pearl from old monster Tianming. Moreover, old monster Tianming had never relented. Now that he was willing to take out the Yin God Pearl, he was puzzled. To tell you the truth, this girl's body of charm will allow my cultivation to increase rapidly if I dual cultivate. With this girl, I can break through to the 8th level of the Martial Emperor realm in less than 2 years. Moreover, if I miss such a girl, I'll have lived my life in vain. Otherwise, do you think I would take out the Yin God Pearl? Old weirdo Tianming said telepathically with an excited smile on his face, as if he had already reached the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm, as if this peerless person had already made love in front of him. Li Lingtian did not know what they were talking about, but he could sense their divine perception through voice transmission. He knew that his divine perception was not strong enough. If he were to reach the rank of a martial emperor, His divine perception would surpass these few martial emperors, and he would be able to intercept their voice transmission. He also noticed that the two of them would occasionally glance at Shun Mai on the flying ship. He was sure that the two of them were communicating with Shun Mai. He felt a bitter smile in his heart. This Shun Mai was a natural beauty. She would become the target of others wherever she went. Fortunately, there was the existence of a transcending power like the Queen's palace. Otherwise, they would have been finished long ago. However, he also understood that there were countless super experts who had evil intentions. As long as they did it discreetly, the Queen's palace would not be able to find out who did it. However, at this moment, a voice transmission was heard and Li Lingtian smiled faintly. Chapter 234, Chapter 234, Silver Worm, 1. Chapter 234, Silver Worm, 1. Nan Ming had also come. Although he was only a third-level martial emperor, there was at least a guide inside. While Nan Ming was using it, he was also being used by others. In this world, no matter what the situation was, they would use each other. Sir Lingtian, you're early. There was a hint of joy in the voice. Li Lingtian looked in the direction of the voice transmission and saw an elderly man in grey being blocked by a grey halo in a hidden corner. If he had not spoken telepathically, Li Lingtian would not have been able to find him. Li Lingtian felt an inexplicable sense of vigilance when he saw this. 2. Sir Nanming, you've already arrived. I thought you weren't coming. Li Lingtian smiled. Although he was on guard, he did not show it. The more vigilant he was, the more relaxed he should be on the surface so that the other party would not hide it further. On the flying ship, Shun Mai looked at the person in her line of sight with a faint smile on her face. Her lips kept opening and closing. She knew who she was talking to. Almost every martial artist here used secret sound transmission. That elegant and graceful person could no longer be erased from the bottom of his heart. As time passed, the Big Dipper appeared in the sky at midnight. The 7 stars slowly formed a string. Countless experts became serious as they looked at the 7 stars alignment in the sky. As long as the 7 stars were aligned, the ancient cave abode would open. This was the pattern that had been studied for the past 300 years. TSK. The 7 stars aligned in the sky, and a dazzling ray of light shot down. In an instant, the light passed through the sky and landed on the ground. A 100-meter wide circle of light appeared on the ground, and a mysterious array altar appeared. The array altar was built according to the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. The light circle activated the array altar and it began to emit waves of light. Sir Lingtian, wait for us at the bottom of the 9th mountain peak after we enter. The array altar lit up, and countless experts walked up one by one. Every expert who went up carried a wood elemental pearl. As soon as it went up, it was swallowed by the light and disappeared. At this moment, Nan Ming transmitted his voiceover. From his tone, it seemed like he knew quite a bit about the inside. Don't worry, Sir Nanming. Li Lingtian sent a voice transmission over. When he looked at the spot again after his voice faded, Nanming had long disappeared. He had no idea where he had gone to and he was nowhere to be seen on the array altar. You guys go back first. I'll protect the princess. The 8th level Martial Royal Realm young man behind Shun Mai said to the 4 Martial Royal Realm experts. Since the princess wanted to enter, they could only protect her. Moreover, he did not dare to report to the Queen's palace. This was also the princess's order. 8th Commander, 1 foot 11 inches leave the princess to you. Our lives are in your hands. The 4 martial emperors said seriously with bitter smiles on their faces. A girl from the warrior spirit realm was courting death by entering the ancient cave mansion. If anything happened to the princess, their lives would be in danger. Don't tell anyone about my whereabouts. After Shun Mai finished speaking, her body flashed and she flew down. In the blink of an eye, she had entered the array altar. When she entered the array altar, she intentionally glanced at Li Lingtian. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless martial artists entered the array altar. In a moment, the 7 stars alignment gradually shifted, and the light on the array altar gradually weakened. When Li Lingtian saw that there were no more warriors entering, His body flashed and he disappeared mysteriously. When he reappeared, he was already on the array altar. The moment Li Lingtian entered the array altar, the wood elemental pearl trembled for a moment before it swallowed him. It was as if he had entered a space-time tunnel. In 3 seconds, his body trembled and he left the space-time tunnel. He appeared on a flat ground. There were countless martial artists here, and this teleportation array was a fixed direction. When he was sent out, everyone was together. However, Shun Mai and the 8th commander were nowhere to be seen. Li Lingtian glanced around and pondered for a moment before he quickly ran in a certain direction. The 9th mountain peak was a completely different world. The so-called ancient cave dwelling seemed to be an independent space built in the soliciting moon mountains. Thousands of martial artists came in, but after dispersing, not many could be seen. When Li Lingtian arrived at the 9th mountain peak, there were already 5 warriors waiting there. Among the 5 martial artists, 4 were at the 3rd level of the martial emperor realm, and 1 was at the 4th level. The heaven-breaking pavilion is here. Nanming returned to his original appearance without hiding anything. He smiled when he saw Li Lingtian's arrival. Sir Nanming. Li Lingtian looked at the Nanming alchemist indifferently. He had mentioned 3 before, but now there was 1 more. Naturally, he had to ask. Oh, let me introduce you. This is Sir Lin Xiao, this is Sir Liu Yu, and this is Sir Jiang Wei. This is His Excellency Ji Yu Lanqing. He just joined us when we were outside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Li Lingtian, the alchemist. He's extremely skilled in alchemy and possesses great strength. Alchemist Nanming introduced the few martial emperors to Li Lingtian before he introduced Li Lingtian to the other 4 martial emperors. Greetings, sirs. Li Lingtian smiled and greeted the few martial emperors with a fist salute. The few martial emperors were polite and did not look down on Li Lingtian despite his lack of cultivation. On the contrary, they looked solemn. In front of a martial emperor, he could not see through the other party's cultivation. Either he had cultivated a magical cultivation method, or his strength was terrifying. No matter what, this young man could not be provoked casually. Moreover, he had come here to join forces to search for treasures. Let's go. After a brief greeting, alchemist Nanming led Li Lingtian and the others away. This ancient cave abode was called a cave abode, but this place was also a paradise, a place where mighty experts cultivated. No one knew how big this place was. Li Lingtian did not know what the Nanming alchemist was capable of to be so familiar with this place. The group of people didn't say anything and kept flying with alchemist Nanming. After flying for an entire day, the Nanming alchemist's face turned grave. Sir Nanming, what's wrong? Lin Xiao asked indifferently when he saw Nanming stop. His face revealed an excited expression, thinking that he had arrived. However, Nanming's next words stunned them, and a faint bitter smile appeared on their faces. In front, there are silver bugs, grade 4 silver bugs. Nanming said indifferently as he looked at the few martial artists beside him. A silver insect, a 4th stage silver insect. What's there to be afraid of? We're all martial emperors. Jiang Wei asked in confusion. Among them, he was the only one who didn't recognize the silver insects. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy. The 4th tier silver bugs aren't that scary. The main thing is that silver bugs are group creatures. There are hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of them. Silver bugs reproduce very quickly. If we get the silver bug king, we can reproduce tens of thousands of silver bugs in a year. Moreover, silver bugs rely on the flesh and blood of their own kind to increase their cultivation. The newly born silver bugs are already at level 2. In a year, they can advance to level 3. If they increase their level later on, that terror is beyond our imagination. Nanming alchemist said seriously. Then, they carefully extended their divine senses out, but they did not find any silver bugs. Li Lingtian was shocked as well. Tier 4 was not scary, but a large group of Tier 4 was. Tier 4 was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster. If hundreds of martial arts grandmasters attacked you, you would definitely die. I wonder if anyone has any way to deal with these silver bugs. Furthermore, There are a few more dangerous passes ahead. After you've dealt with this one, you can rest in the next place. Alchemist Nanming said earnestly as he looked at Li Lingtian and the others. Li Lingtian was puzzled. This Nanming was so familiar with this place that it was as if it was his backyard. Although there was no sign of the silver malicious insects, Li Lingtian believed that Nanming would not speak nonsense. CC. Those who were initially suspicious had their expressions changed drastically when they heard the voice in the air. A silver object pressed down from the sky, and it carried a shocking pressure. Silver bugs, tens of thousands of silver bugs. The few of them were shocked, and the expressions on their faces became fearful. Tens of thousands of fourth-grade silver insects, let alone martial emperors, even martial honors would find it difficult to deal with. Over 10,000 silver bugs, each of them was the size of a fist, and their entire bodies were silver. The silver insects immediately blocked the sky within a 100-meter radius as they quickly flew toward Li Lingtian and the others. Attack. Blazing flame explosion. Flame gold annihilation. Boundless moon slash. Flaming divine fist. Ice sealing sword rain. Earth burst. The 6 of them were shocked when they saw tens of thousands of silver bugs flying over. They began to attack the silver bugs with their own attacks. A shocking explosion sounded in the air, but these silver bugs were all martial ancestor level, so they could only kill 1 or 2 at a time. Instantly, the 6 of them were surrounded by tens of thousands of silver bugs. Rumble. Explosions rang out, but such an attack was not worth mentioning at all. There were too many silver bugs. Heaven and earth burning. Li Lingtian cast the True Dragon Body Barrier, and the light shield of the True Dragon Body Barrier temporarily kept the silver malicious worms outside. He circulated the vital essence in his body and used the heaven and earth conflagration. Immediately, a flame with a radius of 10 meters shot into the sky. Countless silver bugs were turned into ashes, but there was simply no end to the tens of thousands of silver bugs. Moreover, there was another terrifying thing. The protective shields of the other martial monarch experts could not withstand the attacks of the silver bugs at all. The silver bug completely ignored the martial monarch's protective shield. However, they were shocked to see that Li Lingtian's defense could withstand the silver malicious worms. Li Lingtian was well aware that he had cultivated the true dragon's body barrier, which allowed him to withstand the attacks of a 5 princes powerhouse. Furthermore, the dragon energy was extremely mysterious and demonic beasts could not pose a threat to it. The 5 martial emperors could only kill a few silver bugs each time, but they had to face the attacks of countless silver bugs. As long as they were bitten, they would be drowned in the blink of an eye. Be careful, I'll handle this place. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. He was the only one who could deal with the silver malicious insects in this place. The few skills he cultivated all had group attacks. Ice Vitality Divine Fist, Icebound 1,000 miles. His body exuded a frightening chill and the space around him seemed to have frozen. At the same time, Li Lingtian slammed his fist into the ground and a 1-mile-wide glacier appeared. The 5 martial monarchs and all the silver bugs were turned into ice sculptures. Li Lingtian's ice sculpture did not have much effect on the 5 monarchs, but the 5 martial monarchs did not dare to break the ice sculpture. If they did, they would be attacked by the silver bugs. 11. Recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. I welcome everyone to read and save it. I also want to vote for it. The new book needs everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Chapter 235, Chapter 235, Heavenly Toad, 1. Chapter 235, Heavenly Toad, 1. However, what Li Lingtian did not expect was that his Tier 3 Martial Arts Grandmaster Ice Vitality Divine Fist could freeze a Tier 9 Martial Arts Grandmaster at least. However, he did not expect to be instantly broken through by these Tier 4 Level 1 silver bugs. Crash. The 1-mile-wide glacier was shattered into pieces. 5 martial emperors emerged once again, and the tens of thousands of silver malicious beetles did not pause for even a moment before they flew toward Li Lingtian and the others in an overwhelming manner. All. In the blink of an eye, Liu Yu was bitten by hundreds of silver bugs. His clothes and flesh were devoured. As the Zhen Yuan flowed out rapidly, more silver bugs smelled the blood. In the blink of an eye, 1/3 of the silver bugs had arrived on Liu Yu's body. Screams and a final cry. The third-level martial emperor was swallowed just like that. There was not even a bone left. Li Lingtian and the others nearly vomited when they saw this. They were shocked and terrified. "You guys go first, I will confine them for a while." Li Lingtian could not care less when he saw the situation before him. If these people were all dead, he would have wasted his trip. After saying that, he extended his hand, and the ice river split appeared in his hand. The ice river split was obtained from the Ice Dragon Hall, and it was also a saint artifact. The Ice Saint weapon was extremely powerful. Li Lingtian's Ice Soul martial soul rarely used this saint weapon. He waved his hand, and the entire space froze. Snow fell from the sky, and glacier formed in the blink of an eye. When the glacier was formed, the remaining 4 Force Emperors were also frozen. This time, they were truly frozen. Even a martial emperor would not be able to break free, and tens of thousands of silver bugs were naturally frozen inside. "Let's go!" Li Lingtian shouted loudly. Although the glacier was powerful, the glacier began to tremble rapidly as tens of thousands of silver insects continued to devour it. If this continued, the glacier would not be able to hold on for long. Lin Xiao and the rest were grateful to Li Lingtian for letting them leave at this time. They could not understand this young man. Rumble. After a series of explosions, the glacier beside the 4 Force Emperors loosened. Seizing this opportunity, the 4 Force Emperors dashed forward without any hesitation. In the blink of an eye, they were miles away. Ice Flame. Li Lingtian smiled as he watched the 4 martial emperors leave. With one hand and one body, a ball of icy frost flame appeared. The appearance of the icy frost flame instantly turned the glacier into a terrifying sight. Tens of thousands of silver bugs also let out terrified cries, as if they had seen their nemesis. 2. Yes. The Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron was activated. A mysterious light flashed and then the 10 largest silver bugs were kept inside. These silver bugs were different from the others because their auras were different from the others. Moreover, all the silver bugs showed traces of fear when they encountered these silver bugs. It was obvious that these silver bugs were the kings of these silver bugs. As long as they were captured, they could reproduce countless silver bugs in the future. Ice River Split, Destruction. After he was done, he waved Glacier's rift in his hand and the glacier that was on the verge of collapsing solidified once again. It was at this moment that the thunderclap wings appeared on Li Lingtian's shoulder and he disappeared into the glacier. When he reappeared, he was already 20 miles away. He used his soul consciousness to search and found that 4 martial emperors were flying non-stop. It was obvious that they were scared of the silver bugs. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After a short while, Li Lingtian landed and sent a voice transmission to Nanming who was in front of him. "Sir Nanming, wait." Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock as he kept his thunderclap wings. He did not want these people to see his strength. In such a place, hiding a portion of his strength was beneficial to him. "Sir Lingtian, how is it?" Upon hearing Li Lingtian's voice transmission, the alchemist Nanming and the rest stopped in their tracks. When they saw Li Lingtian catching up to them, they were puzzled as they wondered what had happened to the terrifying silver malicious worms. These ugly silver insects are really despicable. They destroyed one of my treasures. I barely managed to escape, but I almost lost my life. Li Lingtian's face was filled with fear, leaving the few martial emperors with no doubt. Liu Yu, who was a Tier 3 martial emperor, had disappeared in the blink of an eye. They had also experienced the power of the silver malicious worm. If Li Lingtian was not injured and scared, they would have been shocked. "Sir Lingtian, recuperate first. There's Tian Chan in front, a Tier 5, Tier 6 Tian Chan. Everyone, be careful." Nanming took a glance at Li Lingtian and took out a jade slip from his storage pouch. He began to read it before he spoke in a serious tone. A level 5, level 6 heavenly toad was equivalent to a level 6 martial emperor. Moreover, this heavenly toad was also highly toxic, and any martial artist who came into contact with it would turn into blood. Even a martial royal realm expert would not dare to provoke them easily. He did not expect that there would be such a thing blocking his way. Sir Nanming, can't you take a detour? Lin Xiao asked in confusion. The silver malicious beetles were flying demonic beasts, and they came in groups. They couldn't be dodged even if they wanted to. However, the heavenly toad was only a demonic beast, so it could naturally take a detour. Li Lingtian and the others were also looking at Nanming, waiting for his explanation. This was a place that Nanming was most familiar with. You may not know this, but the path behind that heavenly toad is the only way. Moreover, only after killing heavenly toad can you enter. It is also a shortcut to enter the ancient cave mansion. Nanming revealed a bitter smile and explained the reason for the matter. Immediately, everyone had an expression of understanding. Since that's the case, there's no other way. 2. Yeah, let's go and take a look. Level 5, Level 6. As long as the few of us work together, one believe there won't be any problem. Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao nodded their heads as they spoke. Only Jiyu Lanqing remained silent. Li Lingtian did not meditate and rest. Instead, he followed the group and within 10 minutes, they arrived at a huge canyon. There were cliffs on both sides, and the canyon was only 30 meters wide. In such a place, if there were demon beasts blocking the way, they could only fight head-on. Coo, 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 coo. Muffled sounds rang out, sounding like thunder. The 5 of them looked ahead and saw a 3-meter-long toad in the middle. Terrifying demonic power erupted from its body, and not a single blade of grass grew around the toad. A faint mist drifted out. Wherever this mist passed, even the rocks melted. Be careful, it's poisonous fog. 2. Jiyu Lanqing shouted loudly as he retreated in a flash. Li Lingtian was at the back. Since he had already dealt with the silver insect alone, he would not be allowed to do anything now. With a wave of his hand, the true dragon barrier was activated. A faint light barrier blocked the poisonous fog outside. He had also discovered the benefits of the true dragon chi now. Demonic beasts and poisonous creatures had no effect on him at all. The toad did not catch up to them after they retreated 100 meters. Then, they walked forward again. However, when they were 10 meters away from the toad exploded with a shocking poisonous fog and made a cooing sound as if it was demonstrating its power. They looked at the toad and then at the cave behind it. It seemed that they had to kill the toad before they could enter. Do it. Jiyu Lanqing said loudly. After that, a huge axe fell into the distance. Nanming, Lin Xiao, and Jiang Wei, the 4 martial emperors, all unleashed their powerful attacks. Instantly, a series of shocking explosions erupted in the canyon. Li Lingtian was meditating and resting at the side. The 4 martial emperors did not say anything. After all, they had already agreed at the beginning that as long as the first stage was resolved, there was no need for them to do anything else. Rumble. With the last explosion, the 5th and 6th level sky toad died. The ground was covered in dark green blood. An inner core and a pitch-black poison gall appeared in everyone's sight. Li Lingtian had just finished his meditation. He looked at the poison gall on the ground with an excited expression. The poison gall might not be useful to others, but it was very useful to him. I want this poison gall. It should be good for refining medicinal pills. Brother Jiyu, the 3 of you handle the inner core. Nanming said. His spirit alchemist was naturally determined to get this poison gall. Moreover, it was useless for the other martial emperors to come. Li Lingtian smiled to himself without showing any change in his expression. Soon, the 3 of them finished processing the materials and inner core of the heavenly toad. All right, let's go in now. There shouldn't be any threats. It'll depend on Sir Lingtian's ability now. Nanming chuckled and took the lead to walk into the cave. Jiyu Lanqing's face froze for a moment before he followed suit. Li Lingtian, Jiang Wei, and Lin Xiao followed closely behind. Since they had come this far, they could not possibly return empty-handed. Li Lingtian grew increasingly wary as he had a bad feeling about Nanming. Although he was a Tier 3 martial emperor, he was too familiar with this place. This was puzzling. Moreover, The others didn't say it because they didn't know his strength, but Nanming knew. He had a level 5 level 8 silver-winged flying dragon, multicolored beast, and jade-eyed beast. With such strength, no martial artist would invite an expert who was stronger than them to take the risk. Yet, he came to find him. This was what he did not understand the most. After entering the cave, the flash wasn't big. There was an endless passage inside, which was dark and damp. Moreover, looking at this passageway, it was obvious that it was opened up by martial artists. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of years this passageway had been opened up. It was covered in moss. After walking for more than 10 minutes, the 5 of them finally arrived at a stone room that was not small. There was nothing in the stone room. The only thing that could be seen was a huge stone door. On the stone door, there were magical beasts carved on it, and there were countless arrays on it. Upon seeing this, the few of them were excited. However, Li Lingtian noticed that Nanming's expression was calm and devoid of any emotion. 2. Sir Lingtian, you're the only one who understands array formations in this place. Thank you for your hard work, Sir Lingtian. Nanming said indifferently, his eyes staring at the monsters on the stone door. Chapter 236, Chapter 236, Heaven-Grade Divine Ability. Chapter 236, Heaven-Grade Divine Ability. Let me take a look first. Li Lingtian stepped forward and scrutinized the stone door. This stone door was filled with demon beasts and array formations. For a moment, it was impossible to tell what array formation it was. What puzzled him even more was that the array on this stone door was completely different from the array he knew. Even though he had only recently understood the array Tao, he knew about the divine array diagram, the 10 great ancient divine arrays, the ancient forbidden arrays, and countless other arrays. However, there was no way to deal with the array on the stone door. He did not know what array it was. Moreover, this array was very crude. They were all arrays below heaven grade. However, there were too many of them. As an array master, he naturally would not easily touch an array that he did not recognize. Nanming and the others were extremely worried when they saw the change in Li Lingtian's expression. They had already come to this place. If they could not enter, they would not be able to finish thinking about it. Could it be a devil formation? No, the demonic array needs demonic chi to operate. Demon formation? It really is a demonic formation. Li Lingtian ignored the others and continued to observe the array formation as he thought to himself. In the end, his face revealed a happy expression. As long as he knew the attributes of this array, it would be easy. At least he had a direction to crack it. Following that, Li Lingtian displayed the divine array diagram and waved his hands continuously with a serious expression on his face. It was his first time cracking the demon array and he had no confidence at all. Rustle, rustle. Rustling sounds kept coming from the stone door. The few martial emperors were staring at the stone door with extremely nervous faces, as if they were trying to crack the formation. However, Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face as if he was enjoying the array. I see. Li Lingtian's heart was in shock and the look of enjoyment on his face disappeared. His expression turned extremely ugly as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His body was also thrown into the air, before he finally slammed into the stone room's wall. Blood kept flowing out of the corner of his mouth, but he was extremely excited. Sir Lingtian. The 4 martial emperors were shocked. They did not know much about arrays, but they knew that Li Lingtian was not a simple person to be injured by the array despite his strength. It's fine. Don't worry. I've already found a way to break it. Li Lingtian sat cross-legged and meditated after he finished speaking. He tossed a pill into his mouth and began to recuperate. However, he was excited because he realized that the stone door was not completely covered in an array, but a skill. Those arrays were only used to hide the heaven-grade divine power skill. He did not expect that a divine ability would appear in the soliciting moon mountains. Skills and cultivation techniques above the heaven rank were already divine power skills. There was no need to explain how powerful divine powers were. They were no longer within the scope of skills. There was a divine power skill hidden on the stone door of an ancient cave abode. No one knew what treasure was inside. However, It was not that simple to take away this divine power skill. This was because this skill was integrated into the array formation. When the array formation was broken, the divine power skill would disappear. In other words, he had to remember the divine power skill before the array formation was broken. 20 minutes later, Li Lingtian opened his eyes again and slowly stood up. When the four of them saw that Li Lingtian was done recuperating, they were all filled with anticipation. If we want to break this array, we must gather the strength of the five of us. You must stabilize my true qi so that one can enter the array and break it. Li Lingtian spoke in a serious tone as he kept his eyes fixed on the stone door. All right, that's not a problem. I will definitely do my best. That's it. As long as Sir Lingtian breaks this formation, leave the matters inside to us. The four of them nodded and unleashed their true essence to suppress Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian activated his cultivation method and absorbed the four men's primordial qi. This way, he did not have to expend his own primordial qi. The divine array diagram was displayed once again, and there was a path to it. Now, he just needed to carefully memorize the divine arts inside. Even if he could not obtain the treasure inside, he would not regret it because obtaining this skill was a shocking treasure. Divine abilities were extremely rare in the divine martial continent. Usually, only some powerful super experts could master a divine ability skill. The so-called divine powers were the same as the attributes of martial artists. Everyone only had one or two divine powers. Very soon, the place where the array formation started again had learned its lesson from before, so it was also very careful to crack it. Silver characters were transmitted into his mind. In his mind, these characters were continuously connected together, forming a magical spell. Yes. With a soft shout, the four martial emperors retracted their primordial qi. Li Lingtian's body swayed and the divine array diagram swayed as he pointed a spell at it. Immediately, the divine array diagram flashed with a dazzling light. The light bombarded the stone door. With a muffled sound, the stone door opened. A large hall appeared in their line of sight, and Nan Ming excitedly flashed in. Li Lingtian recuperated a little before he walked in. There were traps everywhere. There were also some formations of different sizes. However, they were all martial monarch realm experts. Even if they did not understand formations, they could still dodge the attacks of formations. When they asked around, they found nothing inside. The five of them revealed disappointed expressions. However, when they saw that there were rooms inside, they felt a little better. Following that, the five of them began to search. However, after searching 5 or 6 rooms, they did not find a single item. There was not even a single spirit stone, let alone a treasure. Catcher. At this moment, Lin Xiao accidentally triggered a mechanism. The appearance of the mechanism caused the five of them to feel as if their world had turned upside down. When he reappeared, he was already in a room with a radius of 50 square meters. The furnishings in the room were simple. There was a stone bed, a stone table, and a stone bench. Other than these simple furnishings, there were no other items. It should be here. How is that possible? Where is it? At this moment, Nan Ming's face revealed a crazed look. It was as if his treasure had disappeared, and he was searching everywhere. Li Lingtian and the other three were puzzled by Nanming's behavior and began to doubt themselves. Alchemist Nanming looked like he was too familiar with this place, as if he had long known that there was a treasure here. Catcher. An exquisite box popped out from the ground. After the box appeared, it floated in the room and immediately attracted the attention of the 5 people. For a box to appear in such a place, it was naturally inseparable from a treasure. For a moment, the 5 of them stared at the box in a daze, not knowing what was inside. There was naturally a problem with 5 people sharing a box. No one dared to make a move first, because if they did, they would be attacked by the others. After a long time, the 5 of them knew that this was not a solution. "I'll open this box first," Jiyu Lanqing said seriously. "We'll split the treasures inside equally. How about that?" "All right." Li Lingtian was the first to agree. Jiyu Lanqing was much better than Nan Ming in opening the box. Lin Xiao and Jiang Wei could only agree. Then, Jiyu Lanqing carefully grabbed the box and opened it. Instantly, an ancient aura erupted, and their eyes lit up. There were a total of 7 items in a foot-long box. There were 2 jade slips, 2 short swords, a battle axe, a bell, and a green pearl. He didn't know what the jade slip was, nor did he know what the green bead was. However, the battle axe, the short sword, and the bell were all emitting a shocking pressure. Heaven artifacts, they were definitely heaven artifacts. Only heaven artifacts could have such pressure. For a moment, the 5 of them stared at the box, and the atmosphere was strange and oppressive. I'm the one leading the way here. One want to obtain 2 items. Nanming's words stunned Li Lingtian and the other 3. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly oppressive. No matter how good their relationship was, when it came to benefits, they would not give in. Of the 7 items, each person had to split 2 of them. In other words, at least 2 people could only get one. Such a treasure was rarely seen in the divine martial continent. Naturally, they would not give it up so easily. Since Sir Nanming wants 2, how about I take 2? I trust that none of you will object to my choice. One only want 2 jade slips. I am an alchemist, and it is obvious that I am not going overboard with the pill formulas of 2 jade slips. Li Lingtian chimed in as well. After that, he turned to Lin Xiao and Jiang Wei before finally shifting his gaze to Jiyu Lanqing and Nanming. Sir Lingtian, one have no objections if you choose 2 items, but you can't choose a weapon. Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment before he understood. Li Lingtian was an alchemist and an array master. Naturally, he needed the pill formula. Moreover, Li Lingtian had contributed the most. In this way, he would be doing her a favor by agreeing. That's right. If Sir Lingtian chooses 2 jade slips, I have nothing to say. Seeing Lin Xiao agree so easily, Jiang Wei felt a little puzzled. However, how could an old monster like him not understand the logic behind it? He immediately agreed. Sir Lingtian, have you forgotten that I'm also a spirit pill master? Aren't you going against me by asking for 2 items? Nanming did not expect Li Lingtian, who had always been friendly, to stand up for him. Although he did not object, it was obvious that he felt bad for him. Haha, Sir Nanming, you are a spirit alchemist. How about this? One will choose a jade slip and a weapon. You can ask them if they agree. If they agree, one don't mind. Li Lingtian laughed out loud. He did not know if the 2 jade slips contained a pill formula or a cultivation technique. Such an uncertain item was naturally not as valuable as a heaven artifact. Heaven artifacts were already heaven-defying treasures. As long as he obtained one, he could increase his strength by a large margin. With that said, he turned to look at the few martial emperors. Jiyu Lanqing remained silent while Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao objected. Naturally, they would not agree to Li Lingtian's choice of treasure. Chapter 237, Chapter 237, Dividing the Treasures. Chapter 237, Dividing the Treasures. Since neither of you agree, Sir Nanming, how do you think we should split the treasures in this box? Li Lingtian's smile remained on his face, but he glared at the Nanming alchemist. He had plenty of weapons and treasures. Heaven artifacts might seem like treasures to others, but he didn't need them. However, he liked the pill formula. With Nanming alchemist's alchemy cultivation, a 5th grade pill was already at most. Sir Lingtian wants 2 jade slips. That's not good, right? Why don't we look through both jade slips? If both jade slips contain pill formulas, we'll each take one. If there's only one pill formula, we'll draw lots. How about that? Nanming didn't know how to distribute it, but he was worried that the 2 jade slips were magical pill recipes. Following that, he revealed his plan. Fai only mentioned how he and Li Lingtian would split the jade slips. He did not mention the other ways of splitting the jade slips. Haha, Sir Nanming, you really have a good idea. I asked for 2 jade slips when I didn't know the situation. If I knew what was inside, would one still choose the jade slip? This one doesn't want the jade slips. Tier 5 pills are already my limit. One don't know what's inside these 2 jade slips, so you can take them. I'll just choose a heaven artifact. Li Lingtian waved his hand and his sleeve. A hint of anger appeared on his face. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Li Lingtian was angry. Moreover, Li Lingtian's words were reasonable. Li Lingtian was already at a disadvantage when he chose the jade slip without knowing what it was. Nanming was actually making things difficult for him. Even a clayman would be angry. Choose a heaven artifact. I will also choose a heaven artifact. Heaven artifact, one is enough. He didn't expect Jiyu Lanqing to also choose a heaven artifact, which puzzled Nanming. In this way, the four of them had chosen 4 heaven artifacts, leaving only 1 green pearl. The heaven artifact had been divided up, leaving only a green bead. He was about to miss out on the heaven artifact. Wasn't he at a loss this time? 4 heaven artifacts. Since you've chosen them, I've come for nothing. Nanming's expression turned ugly. He didn't know what was inside the 2 jade slips. If he chose the 2 jade slips like this, it wouldn't count. Sir Ling Tian chose 2 jade slips, but he didn't say anything. Lin Xiao looked at Nanming. Apart from Jiyu Lanqing, who was a Tier 4 martial emperor, the rest were all Tier 3 martial emperors. Naturally, he was not worried that Nanming would play any tricks. Forget it, I don't want the treasure anymore. You guys can split it among yourselves. With a wave of his hand, Li Lingtian unleashed the divine array diagram. A ray of light appeared and the entire room was instantly enveloped in its radiance. A phantom image of an array altar appeared in the room, causing Lin Xiao and the others to be confused. She wondered why Li Lingtian did not want the treasure anymore. Was he joking? However, they soon realized that there was no exit in the room and there was no way out. As an array master, Li Lingtian could naturally leave as he pleased. They were just trapped inside. Since Sir Ling Tian doesn't want the treasure, I don't want this treasure either. Consider this a tour. Sir Ling Tian, please send me out. Jiang Wei smiled, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect such a situation to happen. If it was anywhere else, he would never make such a decision. In this room, if there was no exit, he would be trapped to death even if he obtained the treasure. Sir Ling Tian, why are you angry? I was only joking with you. It's just 2 jade slips. Sir Ling Tian is still at a disadvantage. How about this? I'll give this green pearl to Sir Ling Tian as well. How about it, the 3 of you? A murderous intent flashed in Nanming's heart. However, the current situation was disadvantageous to him. If Li Lingtian left just like that, he would have to stay here. I'll let you be arrogant first, but all your treasures are mine. Nanming had a smile on his face as he cursed in his heart. Then, he looked at Jiang Wei and the other 2. All right, that's it. Sir Ling Tian has contributed the most, so I have no objections. Sir Nanming, good idea. Although Jiang Wei and the other 2 didn't agree, they thought that no matter how they split the green bead, it would never be given to them. The chances of it falling into Nanming's hands were higher. Since Nanming was willing to take it out, he had nothing to say. Li Lingtian did not say anything. With one hand and one body, he grabbed the 2 jade slips and the green bead from afar. Without any intention of checking them, he put them into his storage pouch. Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao chose the short sword, Nanming chose the bell, and Jiyu Lanqing chose the battle axe. Let's go. Li Lingtian said as he looked at Jiyu Lanqing. It's time to leave. Sir Ling Tian, please send us out. Lin Xiao said. Obtaining a heaven artifact was already considered good. He had originally used a lower-grade emperor artifact, but now it was a heaven artifact. With such a treasure, his strength would increase by an unknown amount. You don't need my help. Brother Jiyu, just put the box back to its original place. Li Lingtian said calmly while his eyes were still fixed on Jiyu Lanqing. This place was obviously a trap. There was no need for a formation. The only way out was this box. The treasure in the box was gone. However, the box could activate the mechanism here. Although it was only a guess, it was worth a try. Nanming's face turned cold when Li Lingtian finished speaking. Why did he not think of this? He had actually given away the 3 items. Catcher. Jiyu Lanqing was slightly stunned. He tried to put the box back to its original place. Suddenly, a cracking sound was heard. Everyone felt dizzy. A huge force pulled them up, and the entire stone room seemed to be spinning. Boom! 5 seconds later, there was a loud explosion and the box exploded. Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically as he activated his true dragon body barrier with his divine consciousness. He also placed the ice and fire ring in front of him. A terrifying force blasted the 5 of them away. When they reappeared, they were already on a mountain range. A mouthful of blood spurted out. By the time Li Lingtian realized what was going on, he was already in midair and had been sent flying by the force. Borrowing the force of the impact, he used the thunderclap wings and his body strangely disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 20 miles away. Nanming and the other 3 landed and noticed that Li Lingtian had disappeared. Their expressions were ugly. Li Lingtian's body kept flashing as he did not know where to go. After flying for half an hour, he spat out another mouthful of blood. He was struck by a force without any defense, which shocked him. He scanned the surroundings with his divine sense and finally found a cave where he could stay. His body flashed and he entered. He cast a few formations at the entrance of the cave and the entrance disappeared. After doing everything, he began to regulate his breathing. In an unknown and unfamiliar place, he had to recover from his injuries and recover his energy to the best state to deal with all unknown dangers. In the cave, Li Lingtian did not bother to look at the jade slips and beads. Instead, he focused on recuperating his injuries. 2 days passed. 2 days later, he left the cave, chose a direction, and flew on his sword at a moderate speed. On the 5th day after entering the ancient cave dwelling, Shunmai and Wei Tian were looking for something aimlessly. "Little princess, this place is filled with danger. One think we should find a place to rest. When the time is up, we'll leave. Little princess doesn't lack anything at all." Wei Tian felt extremely depressed. As the 8th commander, he actually had to accompany this little princess to wander around this dangerous place. Shunmai was the little princess of the queen's palace. She had everything she wanted. If she wanted something, someone would find it with just a word. There was no need for her to take the risk in the ancient cave abode in the soliciting Moon Mountains. It seemed that the little princess had come to play these past few days and not to look for any treasures. However, he was depressed. There were countless experts here. There were several Type 8 experts, and there were even Type 9 experts. If he was alone, it would be fine. However, if he brought the little princess along, if he was not careful and the little princess was injured or killed, his entire family would be wiped out. "You don't want to come? Then go back. One didn't ask you to come." Shunmai's face no longer had a hint of coquettish charm. Instead, her face was pure and innocent. But now, her face was filled with impatience. It had been a few days, but she had not seen the person she wanted to see. "Little princess, please forgive me. I'm just worried about your safety." When Wei Tian heard this, he immediately felt bad. If this little princess complained, he would be finished. Therefore, he quickly smiled apologetically. He did not dare to provoke this little princess. Even if he died, he could not make this little princess unhappy. "He, you don't have to worry about your little princess' safety. I'll protect her." At this moment, a sinister laugh was heard, and the entire lawn shook with the sound. Wei Tian and Shunmai were both shocked. They did not think that someone would dare to be so rude even after knowing their identity. "Who is it? Get out!" Wei Tian roared as he circulated his true qi and scanned his surroundings with his divine sense. However, he could not find a single shadow. He did not even see a single demonic beast, let alone a person. When he realized this, he felt even more troubled. "Hehe, the old man is coming out now. You can get lost. 1 foot 11 inches protect the little girl. Hey, little girl, don't worry. I'll make you want to die later." The sinister laughter appeared again, but when the voice fell, a figure appeared in the void. Wei Tian saw the figure in the sky and felt that something was wrong. Old monster Tianming was a womanizer and had a notorious reputation. It seemed like he had his eyes on the little princess. The little princess was pitilessly beautiful, and all the men in the world were tempted. When this old man saw the little princess, he naturally had his attention on the little princess. Shunmai was also frightened. Although her cultivation was low, she had heard of this old man's bad reputation. He was like a beggar. Any woman would be disgusted by this old man. However, this old man's strength was terrifying. He was invincible among rank 8 experts. Even Wei Tian was not his match. He was finished this time. The fear in his heart grew. If he fell into the hands of this old man, he might as well die. Chapter 238. Chapter 238. The power to destroy the army, the destruction of heaven and earth. Chapter 238. The power to destroy the army, the destruction of heaven and earth. Old monster Tianming, how dare you be so rude to the little princess? Aren't you afraid of extracting her soul? Wei Tian saw that old monster Tianming had actually said such words in front of him. This was the little princess of the queen's palace, and someone in the Azure continent actually dared to covet the little princess. He was truly courting death. He felt a deep sense of fear towards old monster Tianming. However, when he thought of the queen's palace's reputation, he believed that old monster Tianming would also feel fear. Moreover, no matter how powerful old monster Tianming was, he might not be able to kill him. If he did not die, old monster Tianming would be hunted down by the queen's palace even if he fled to the ends of the earth. Haha, queen's palace, this old man is also very afraid. However, if I kill you here, this little girl will, Who else knows who captured the little girl? You can die now. Old monster Tianming laughed sinisterly as if Wei Tian was already dead. Old monster Tianming, is it possible for you to kill me? Wei Tian and Shunmai were both terrified. If they were really ambushed here, the people outside would not know who did it. Shunmai felt a tinge of regret. She shouldn't have entered this place. Now that she had encountered such a situation, she didn't pay any attention to it. In the outside world, no one could provoke her. Moreover, she was surrounded by countless proud sons of heaven. However, she had never thought that such a day would come. Well, no, once we try. After old monster Tianming finished speaking, his terrifying true energy caused the world to tremble. A shocking true energy attack smashed down on Wei Tian. The power of true essence was firm and fierce without losing its femininity. This was also the power after he plucked it. It had his firm and fierce power, but also the woman's femininity. The world trembled and space was torn apart. Light of the Oracle. Wei Tian was shocked. He did not think that old monster Tianming would have the guts to do so. He did not dare to be the slightest bit careless in this attack. The first thing he did was use the Light of Oracle. This was a forbidden technique that was equivalent to a martial emperor. He knew his own strength. Even if the little princess wasn't here, he wouldn't be a match for old monster Tianming. However, now that the little princess was here, he didn't dare to be careless. Rumble. With a loud explosion, Wei Tian's body was thrown into the air and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Die! Old monster Tianming did not stop at all. Another destructive attack smashed down ruthlessly. Since he had made a move, he could not show any mercy. Otherwise, it would be seen by outsiders and spread to the queen's palace. Ignore attacks. Wei Tian's face was filled with fear. This attack was enough to take his life. He had thought that he was no match for the old monster, but he had never expected the old monster to be so powerful. In his anxiety, he reversed his vital essence and used the martial emperor forbidden technique. A light circle met the attack in the air. Just as he used the forbidden technique that ignored attacks, his expression changed drastically. In the sky, a destructive attack erupted from the other side. Its power was even stronger than old monster Tianming's attack. The target of that attack was him. Even if he was a fool, he knew that old monster Tianming had already joined forces with others to scheme against him. No wonder he was so unscrupulous. Even if an outsider came, he would be killed. He and the little princess were doomed this time. Rumble. A shocking explosion sounded out. At the same time, The shocking attack behind him also struck Wei Tian. When an 8th-level martial emperor was injured and caught off guard, his body would be as weak as paper in the face of a sneak attack from an expert of the same level. Without a single scream, Wei Tian's body was torn apart. His entire body was covered in blood, and his face was pale as his life force gradually disappeared. Little princess, let's go. The power of the army destroyer can destroy everything. When Wei Tian's life force disappeared, he remembered that the little princess was still here. If the little princess was humiliated, he would not forgive himself even if he died. He burned the last of his life to unleash the destructive power of the army destroyer. Seeing Wei Tian die right in front of her, Shunmaya felt extremely upset. She had never shown any mercy to her subordinates before, but now, someone had died to protect her. His body flashed quickly and he ran into the distance. However, no matter how fast a warrior spirit was, it was impossible for him to escape the destructive army-shattering power. Not good, quickly dodge. When old monster Tianming saw Wei Tian's counterattack before his death, he was shocked to death. Martial artists who used the army-destroying power would never be able to reincarnate, and its power would destroy the world. After saying that, his body flashed, but it was already too late. The army-destroying power swept across the world with a destructive power, destroying everything within a 5-kilometer radius. The old ghost Yin Ming, who was hiding in the air, was also extremely shocked. His body flashed, but it was too late. It's good to die. It's better than being humiliated. I know that you look down on me. It's just that my was born with a bewitching body, and she was born without control. However, if one die like this, my body will still be pure, and my body will belong to you alone. Seeing the destruction of the world, Shunmaya stopped. A beautiful smile appeared on her face, but there was a trace of regret in her smile. As she spoke to herself, her voice was drowned out by the destructive world. In her despairing eyes, a light shadow flashed. The light shadow was beyond the horizon. When she saw it clearly, the light shadow had already arrived in her line of sight. The light figure didn't hesitate at all and plunged into the destructive world. The light gradually became clear, and a graceful figure appeared. Her white clothes fluttered in the wind. When her body flashed again, she was already in front of him. This figure was like a nightmare in her heart. True dragon body protection. Creation of the heavens and earth. Divine array world. Shifting flowers to trees. Spatial imprisonment. The figure came before her with a comforting smile on her face. She waved her hands, and a formation enveloped her. At the same time, a pill cauldron appeared. The pill cauldron emitted a mysterious light, and the light enveloped her. He also intentionally or unintentionally stood in front of her, protecting the two of them with a light shield. A banner kept changing and twisting, and the destructive power between heaven and earth shot in all directions. The figure in front of her wasn't imposing, but it gave her a sense of security. He had left all his defenses to her. And he was standing in front of her. Although the destruction of the world came from all directions, his subconscious reaction made her feel his intentions. Using a human body to block the destructive power for her. The entire process only took an instant. The destructive power between heaven and earth erupted and quickly spread hundreds of miles away. The body in front of her trembled and was about to hit her. However, this body forcefully took a step forward and collided with the destructive power. A blood mist dispersed, and the world gradually quieted down. The destructive power gradually disappeared. Endless gales raged, but this body slowly fell down. In the sky, two sounds of blood spurting rang out. Old monster Tian Ming and old ghost Yin Ming both spat out a mouthful of blood. The two of them had completely turned into beggars, and their bodies were covered in blood. What a terrifying army-shattering power. Old monster Tianming looked into the distance in shock. He had just escaped quickly and forcefully used a forbidden technique at the last moment. He was lucky enough to escape, but he was also hit by the destructive power. His cultivation went by quickly, and his realm dropped to the 7th level of the martial emperor realm. All the meridians in his body were broken. The old ghost Yin Ming wasn't any better. His face was deathly pale, and he was extremely regretful. Old monster, hand over the yin god pearl. Old ghost Yin Ming looked at old monster Tian Ming. His losses this time were too great. 2. The yin god pearl. That girl is gone. Do you still want the yin god pearl? Is there such a good thing? Old monster Tianming said angrily. Are you going back on your word? My cultivation fell because of you. The disappearance of that little kid was not part of our deal. He's actually not dead yet. The old ghost Yin Ming was also furious, but in the end, he actually discovered that there was still an aura at the center of the explosion. This aura was completely unharmed and was not injured at all. No, there should be 2 of them. One of them had an extremely weak aura. Let's go take a look. If the little girl is still alive, I'll give you the yin god pearl. Also, if we leave like this, the queen's palace will definitely hunt us down endlessly. Old monster Tianming also discovered the situation inside. He glanced at old ghost Yin Ming and said loudly. After saying that, he walked inside. His face was pale, his cultivation had fallen, and his injuries were extremely serious. However, he could not help himself now. How are you? Don't scare me. Why are you doing this? Is it worth it? You still have me in your heart. If you dare to die, I won't let you off even if I go to hell. Shunmaya looked at the elegant figure lying on the ground. He was not moving at all. The pain in his heart was as if it was being torn apart. He had never felt so uncomfortable before. However, she was covered by the array and the light that was about to dissipate. She could not move at all. She could only look at the man who was less than 2 meters away from her. The originally elegant figure now had traces of blood at the corner of his mouth. His face was pale, and he did not even know if he was dead or alive. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood as he opened his eyes weakly. There was not a single meridian in his body that was intact. He couldn't move his body at all. When he heard the voice behind him, a faint smile appeared on his face. However, it was so difficult to smile at this moment. Will you do this when you see me being destroyed? Li Lingtian spoke weakly. Every word he uttered tugged at his meridians and his face was filled with pain. I will. One will protect you like you protect me. Shunmaya blurted out without any hesitation, and the tears on her face couldn't help but fall. Since you can do this, why can't I? Li Lingtian was extremely satisfied. With this, he would have no regrets even if he had to die. A satisfied smile appeared on her face, but it was difficult to smile. At this moment, Shunmaya finally felt that she had made the right decision to come here. She didn't regret it at all, because she had heard the words that she wanted to hear the most in this world. Hee hee, hee hee. A sinister laughter drifted over from the sky. The sinister laughter was very uncoordinated in this quiet environment. Shunmaya's face showed a trace of fear, and at the same time, a trace of determination. Chapter 239, Chapter 239, Grade 7 Great Rejuvenation Pill. Chapter 239, Grade 7 Great Rejuvenation Pill. One don't regret it at all. In my next life, my will still be your woman. Shunmaya coldly looked at the 2 figures in the distance and said in a soft voice. Her voice was so soft that only the 2 of them could hear her. Little girl, you caused my cultivation to fall. When the time comes, I'll make you wish you were dead. Old monster Tianming revealed a vicious expression. The evil in his eyes became extremely terrifying, as if he wanted to devour the girl in front of him. You have designs on my woman. 10,000 deaths will not be enough to atone for your crime. I will exterminate your entire clan. Li Lingtian slowly crawled up with blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. He looked extremely terrifying. He looked sharply at the 2 old men in the distance. One was a beggar-like old man, and the other was an old man with dense yin qi. Junior, she's your woman, a piece of trash. I'll refine you into a puppet first. Old monster Tianming didn't know how this young man had survived this destructive power, but the killing intent in his heart was extremely dense. He only wanted to kill this young man. All right, then you all will die. Blood continued to flow from the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. His face was in extreme pain. With a flick of his divine consciousness, He activated the divine dragon ring and the space trembled. The silver-winged flying dragon, multicolored beast, Little White, and jade-eyed beast appeared in front of him at the same time. Little White crouched beside Li Lingtian. The multicolored beast, jade-eyed beast, and silver-winged flying dragon did not wait for Li Lingtian's order before they roared and charged forward. After spending so much time with Li Lingtian, even the demonic beasts developed feelings for him. Seeing Li Lingtian's injuries, the few demonic beasts were enraged. Their destructive demonic powers overwhelmed him. Silver-winged flying dragon. Level 5, Level 8 silver-winged flying dragon. Multicolored beast, jade-eyed beast. Old monster Tian Ming and old ghost Yin Ming had never thought that this young man would have a level 5 level 8 demonic beast. Such a terrifying existence had the same cultivation as them, but his strength was extremely terrifying. Even when he was at his peak, he did not dare to provoke him easily. Moreover, his cultivation had fallen and his injuries were serious. He did not have the strength to fight at all. Not to mention a level 8 demon beast, even a level 5 or 6 demon beast could kill them. When they discovered this situation, they were shocked to death. Rumble. Rumble. Before they could react, a series of shocking attacks bombarded them. In the blink of an eye, the 3 demon beasts and the 2 elders were fighting. Shun Mai was elated to see Li Lingtian having such a demonic beast. Due to the urgency, he had long forgotten about the demonic beast that he saw Li Lingtian last time. TSK. Li Lingtian slowly stood up and forcefully cast a spell. The spell pointed at the heaven and earth creation cauldron and the light from the cauldron disappeared. The cauldron returned to Li Lingtian's hand. He cast another incantation gesture and the divine array world's light shield disappeared. Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer after casting the 2 incantation gestures. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned ghastly pale. With the array around Shun Mai removed, she no longer cared about anything else as she threw herself into Li Lingtian's arms. Tears were streaming down her face. During this period of time, she had been out of sorts after leaving Li Lingtian. However, she could not go to Maple Leaf Villa to find Li Lingtian. He had originally planned to disappear just like that, but he was reluctant to do so until the ancient cave abode in the soliciting Moon Mountains opened and allowed his subordinate to obtain the wooden bead to enter. She had also wanted to meet Li Lingtian in the ancient cave dwelling. Just as she had hoped, Li Lingtian appeared outside the cave dwelling. However, Li Lingtian's figure quickly disappeared after he entered the cave. After searching for a few days in the ancient cave abode, Li Lingtian was nowhere to be found. Wei Tian had died, and he had almost fallen into old monster Tian Ming's hands. After going through so many things and suffering, how could a girl like her bear it? With Li Lingtian here, she would naturally have a place to vent her frustrations. It's all right now, Li Lingtian said softly as he endured the pain all over his body. No matter what had happened in the past, he owed this Shun Mai. He had made a girl so afraid for him. What else could he not be satisfied with? Rumble. Rumble. Explosions sounded in the sky as countless experts rushed over. However, when they saw the battle between the demonic beasts and old monster Tianming in the sky, they were all incomparably shocked. They didn't know what had happened, but old monster Tianming and old ghost Yin Ming were both extremely afraid after being beaten up like this. They thought that a few demon beasts had beaten the 2 of them until their cultivation realms fell, and their hearts trembled. Even though they saw Li Lingtian injured, they did not dare to take advantage of the situation as they had to look at the target. A few demonic beasts had turned 2 8th level martial emperors into 7th level martial emperors. Now that they were not far from death, they naturally did not dare to die. All. Arg. A miserable cry sounded out as old monster Tianming was struck by the silver-winged flying dragon's destructive demonic energy. His body was continuously torn apart, and in the end, his life force disappeared. He couldn't be any more dead. The silver-winged flying dragon didn't stop after this attack. It continued to attack old ghost Yin Ming. Now, it was 3 against 1. With old monster Tianming's death, it brought the shadow of death to old ghost Yin Ming. Rumble. Another earth-shaking explosion occurred. The despair in the old ghost Yin Ming's eyes turned into ashes, and his body split apart. Roar, 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 roar. After the 3 demonic beasts killed old monster Tian Ming and old ghost Yin Ming, they let out waves of violent roars and looked at the experts in the distance with a show of force. They were enraged when Li Lingtian was beaten up like this. Their violent rage terrified countless powerhouses. 2, let's go. Li Lingtian's palm gently caressed Shun Mai'er's back before she finally quieted down. She knew that Li Lingtian was in a bad state and needed to find a place to recuperate. If she delayed Li Lingtian's recuperation, he might even die. The multicolored beast crouched down after Li Lingtian finished speaking and gestured for Li Lingtian to go up. Li Lingtian struggled to get on the multicolored beast. Shun Mai'er sat behind him while Little White sat on Li Lingtian's shoulder. The 3 demonic beasts ran away quickly and disappeared from the sight of countless experts in the blink of an eye. On the multicolored beast tried its best to reduce the bumps and its speed was not too fast. After running for a full hour, the silver-winged flying dragon flew in the air and finally stopped by a lake. The jade-eyed beast's body flashed and entered the lake. After a moment, it appeared again and gave the multicolored beast a human-like look before entering the lake again. The multicolored beast did not stop either. The few demonic beasts had been together for a long time and naturally understood each other's intentions. The silver-winged flying dragon and the multicolored beast quickly entered the lake. The multicolored beast quickly sank. After sinking for 100 meters, a cave appeared. However, no lake water entered the cave, as if it was blocked by something mysterious. The jade-eyed beast burrowed into the cave with the multicolored beast following behind. Li Lingtian did not bother with the demonic beasts as he had no chance to bother with them now. The injuries all over his body worsened rapidly. He could only focus on his body and not let his consciousness disappear. Shun Mai'er had also noticed something amiss with Li Lingtian, but she was not in the mood to care about the demonic beast's actions. Kai, the sound of air being torn apart rang out as 3 demon beasts appeared in a dry cave. The cave was very big, and there were countless small holes of different sizes inside. Each small hole had a radius of more than 10 square meters. Out of the 3 demonic beasts, one blocked the entrance while the other 2 walked in. They blocked both sides so that Li Lingtian could heal himself. Shun Mai'er got down from the multicolored beast and hugged Li Lingtian. They quickly walked into a small hole. He stretched out his hand, and an exquisite ring appeared. Immediately, the space fluctuated, and countless daily necessities and jade bottles appeared in the ring. Great cyclic pellet. Where is the great cyclic pellet? Where's my great cyclic pellet? Shun Mai'er kept rummaging through her interspatial ring. If someone saw the pills in these jade bottles, they would definitely go crazy because these pills were all tier 4 or 5 precious pills. There were even some legendary precious pills. Found it. Shun Mai'er searched through her interspatial ring and finally found a brocade box. Inside the brocade box was an exquisite jade box with over 10 seals on it. So many seals were just to seal a pill. The pill was the size of a finger, but it emitted a magical light. Heaven and earth are clear and frozen. Revive your soul and restore your spirit. Open. He chanted an incantation, and more than 10 seals were opened. The medicinal pill automatically flew out, carrying traces of spirituality, and was about to escape outside. The medicinal pill had its own consciousness. Only a tier 7 medicinal pill could have such spirituality. Seeing that the pill was about to escape, Shun Mai'er grabbed it with one hand and quickly stuffed it into Li Lingtian's mouth. The tears on her face were still wet as she anxiously watched Li Lingtian's transformation. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was trembling and his expression was contorted. Silly woman, what pill did you give me? Li Lingtian endured the pain and looked at Shun Mai'er. What's wrong with you? This is my great cyclic pellet. Seeing Li Lingtian's expression, Shun Mai'er knew that she had not only failed to help Li Lingtian, but had instead worsened his injuries. She was not angry at all when she heard Li Lingtian call her a silly woman. On the contrary, she was extremely happy. If anyone else dared to shout like this, they would have died countless times. Great Rejuvenating Pill, a level 7 Great Rejuvenating Pill. Li Lingtian's heart sank and his heart turned ashen. If it was any other time, a tier 7 pill like this would be the target of countless super heaven-defying powerhouses. Moreover, this Great Recovery Pill was the most magical pill among the 7th grade pills. He didn't expect that Shun Mai would have such a pill. But now, not only could he not heal himself, but he was also adding fuel to the fire. He was weak and could not be nourished. Moreover, after his meridians were broken, this pill was a fatal poison. Hurry up and get out. If I'm not dead, come in again. Li Lingtian's entire body seemed to be on fire. The burning of his meridians made him suffer hellish pain. Originally, he only needed to enter the Divine Dragon Ring to recover from his injuries. However, he did not expect that this silly woman would waste the recover pill for him and even push him to the edge of death. Chapter 240. Chapter 240. Cultivate Together, 1. Chapter 240. Cultivate Together, 1. If you die, I won't live alone. I'll go to hell with you. Seeing Li Lingtian's condition, Shun Mai knew that she was done for. She looked at Li Lingtian resolutely before turning around and leaving the cave. He tidied up the small cave next door. In less than 10 minutes, a warm boudoir appeared. The entrance of the small cave was covered by a formation flag. Once she was done, she walked out and sat quietly outside Li Lingtian's cave. If anything happened to Li Lingtian, she would follow him to hell. Her boudoir would be the place where they would be buried. The 3 demonic beasts were also extremely anxious. Their bodies were bursting with a violent aura as they paced back and forth. However, they did not dare to approach Li Lingtian. This silly woman. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly as he watched Shun Mai leave. He knew that Shun Mai was trying to save him. Otherwise, she would not have fed him such a precious and miraculous pill. With that, he waved his hands and activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine consciousness. He then entered the 3,000 dragon energies in the Divine Dragon Ring. With the existence of the Dragon Chi, he would not be destroyed. Only in this way could he repair his meridians. If his meridians were not repaired, he would not even be able to use his cultivation technique. How could he be treated? A low growl came from his throat, and his expression was distorted. Seal. Seal. Once his meridians were slightly repaired, Li Lingtian quickly unleashed his Ice Soul Martial Soul and Flaming Sacred Body. The 2 miraculous ultimate martial souls quickly suppressed the recover pill. The Great Cyclic Pill was not like other medicinal pills that melted in the mouth. It had to be refined through exercise. An ordinary expert would need 10 days to half a month to refine a recover pill. Moreover, only Martial Supremes and Martial Emperors dared to use a grade 7 medicinal pill. He did not dare to refine the Great Rejuvenation Pill now, and he did not have the strength to do so. He could only seal the Great Cyclic Pellet, or else he would be burned to death by the medicinal power of the Great Cyclic Pellet. His body was in turmoil. His meridians were broken from time to time and his true essence was in disarray. Li Lingtian was on the verge of destruction. After an unknown amount of time, the Great Cyclic Pellet was finally sealed, but there were still traces of medicinal strength moving around in his body. Li Lingtian could only allow the Great Cyclic Pellet's medicinal effect to run through his body. He could only focus on repairing his meridians. Otherwise, he would not be able to heal himself, let alone stop the Great Cyclic Pellet's medicinal effect. Hush! Li Lingtian did not know if it was a day or 2 before he finally heaved a sigh of relief. His meridians were gradually recovering. He left the Divine Dragon Ring and reappeared in the cave. His expression had also recovered a lot, but his meridians still needed to recover. Now that he had passed the critical period, it was only a matter of time before his injuries and meridians recovered. After a mouthful of blood was expelled, his face gradually regained its ruddy color, and he was no different from an ordinary person. The only thing was that he could not use his meridians and true essence. He could only be an ordinary person for the time being. Xiao Bai was relieved to see Li Lingtian come out. This was because every time Li Lingtian was injured, he would come out of the Divine Dragon Ring and his injuries would recover. Although his expression wasn't very good, it seemed that his injuries had stabilized. Keek. After chirping twice, a stream of consciousness was transmitted into Li Lingtian's awareness. Li Lingtian finally understood that Shun Mai was still standing guard outside. He was stunned for a moment. This silly woman had done all kinds of silly things. For his sake, she had come to the ancient cave mansion and wasted the recover pill. After tidying himself up, he walked out of the cave and saw Shun Mai staring at the cave. He looked extremely tired, as if he hadn't rested for a long time. "You, how are you?" When Shun Mai saw Li Lingtian, she immediately stood up and sized him up. She asked softly like a child who had done something wrong. "I won't die, you silly woman." Li Lingtian's expression turned serious as he walked forward. He stared at Shun Mai and spoke coldly. "Pa!" A crisp sound rang out in the cave, and Shun Mai jumped up. You bully me." Shun Mai rubbed her asterisk 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 asterisk. Initially, she thought that Li Lingtian was going to blame her, but she did not expect him to slap her on the cheek. "This is your punishment." The coldness on Li Lingtian's face turned into a smile as he looked at Shun Mai with a serious expression. Then, he kissed her red lips. Shun Mai was also stunned, and she didn't react for a moment. What followed was the response of the storm. The two of them were completely silent in that intoxicated world. "Not here, okay?" Shun Mai breathed heavily, her face flushed red. Seeing that there were a few beasts here, she felt a little embarrassed. She reached out and pulled Li Lingtian's hand as they walked toward their cave. The scenery in the cave was extremely beautiful. This was the second time the two of them had been together. They had completely let go. After going through all kinds of things, they knew their place in each other's hearts. Shun Mai was born with a seductive body. Li Lingtian was completely mesmerized by this stunningly beautiful woman. After some time, the two of them quieted down. Shun Mai leaned into Li Lingtian's arms and enjoyed his warmth. A satisfied expression appeared on her face. Neither of them said a word, but there was no need for them to talk. "You're my woman. Do you regret it?" Li Lingtian looked at the perfect girl and asked gently. This was an idiotic sentence. If she regretted it, she would not have chased him to the ancient cave mansion. "No, because I'm destined to be your woman. Maya is born with a charming body, but Maya is pure as ice and jade. Her body and mind belong only to you. Last time, I only wanted Prince Wind Spirit to teach you a lesson and make him give up. But after hearing what Prince Wind Spirit said, Maya was moved. It was as if she had touched the strings in her heart." Shun Maya spoke in a soft voice. She recounted everything that had happened during this period of time, warming Li Lingtian's heart. With such a woman falling in love with him, what else could he not be satisfied with? As the two of them spoke softly, Li Lingtian enjoyed the endless gentleness. The next day, Li Lingtian continued to recuperate. With Li Lingtian's love, Shun Maya had a smile on her face at all times. Her charm and innocence blended perfectly together. After a few days of recuperation, Li Lingtian's meridians were completely repaired and he could now channel his qi to cultivate. Shun Maya blushed as she whispered something into Li Lingtian's ear. Li Lingtian was stunned as an excited smile appeared on his face. However, Shun Maya was extremely embarrassed. "Dual cultivation," Li Lingtian exclaimed in his heart. He knew about dual cultivation but he did not know how to do it. Moreover, according to Shun Maya, her body of bewitchment could increase the cultivation of a man who was dual cultivating by several times. Moreover, they could share their Jin Qi and Jin Yuan, but only if Shun Maya agreed. More importantly, the incantation for dual cultivation was also with Shun Maya. Because she had the body of charm, the Queen of the Queen Palace had already taught her the technique of dual cultivation. She was waiting for Shun Maya to get married, and then she would dual cultivate with her husband. All this while, her cultivation had not been able to increase. This was also because of the system. If she dual cultivated, her cultivation would increase in a straight line. Aya, why are you so loud? You're so embarrassed. Later, don't just bully my. Remember, the chant and the cultivation method are more important. Shun my said shyly. She did not even dare to look up at Li Lingtian. After that, the two of them spent most of their time in dual cultivation. Li Lingtian knew how powerful dual cultivation was, but he did not expect it to be so fast. In 3 days, his cultivation had actually broken through to the 4th rank of the martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, the medicinal power of the grand rejuvenation pill in his body had also been converted into true essence. His cultivation had now reached the peak of the 4th rank. Shun mai was originally a Tier 9 warrior spirit, and her cultivation base had been rising continuously in the past 3 days. She had broken through to Tier 6 and was now a Tier 5 warrior king. As he watched the passing of time, Li Lingtian thought for a moment. It was about time for him to leave. If he missed the time, he would never be able to leave. However, Shun Mai's face revealed a reluctant expression. She knew that after they left this place, the two of them would definitely separate. There were many things that she could not control herself. Although she was the little princess of the Queen's palace, she could not control herself. Little brother, Mai will be returning to the Queen's palace after this trip. You must come and find me. Mai will always be waiting for you. Shun Mai had been fighting Li Lingtian for 2 months, and Li Lingtian had been taken advantage of. However, Li Lingtian did not address her as sister. Instead, he addressed her as Mai or silly woman. All right, wait for me at the Queen's palace. I'll definitely bring you back from the Queen's palace. Because you're Li Lingtian's woman, silly woman. Li Lingtian said earnestly with a gentle expression. In this world, no matter how glorious it looked on the surface, there were countless things that were beyond one's control behind the scenes. He didn't ask Shun Mai anything, because he didn't need to know. As long as he became stronger, everything would be fine. Well, we'll stay for another day, okay? A blissful smile appeared on Shun Mai's face as she spoke shyly. She then whispered into Li Lingtian's ear, causing the smile on his face to deepen. On that day, the two of them made love to their heart's content. No matter what Li Lingtian requested, Shun Mai would agree to it. She wanted to stay 1 more day to accompany Li Lingtian. Moreover, this place was their private world. After they went out, they would go their separate ways. Both of them enjoyed the warmth before Li Lingtian left the cave with Shun Mai and flew into the distance. A month's time was up very quickly. The two of them naturally had to rush back so that they wouldn't stay here forever. Counting the time, there were only 2 days left before they left. Li Lingtian stored Little White, the jade-eyed beast, and the silver-winged flying dragon into the divine dragon ring. Holding Shun Mai in his arms, the multicolored beast galloped forward. Shun Mai snuggled into Li Lingtian's arms and enjoyed the last bit of gentleness. They would have to part once they were out. Both of them remained silent as they looked at the scenery on both sides. Even if there were powerhouses, Li Lingtian completely ignored them. As long as they didn't provoke him, he wouldn't provoke these experts. He didn't want the treasures, and he had his own wealth. He wouldn't take the risk for the time being. Because he and Shun Mai were going to be separated soon. If he still went for treasures and wealth at this time, it would be a great spoil of scenery. Li Lingtian did not know why Shun Mai wanted to go back, but he would not object to it as he had many things to attend to. Moreover, the Queen's palace was one of the 3 superforces in the Azure continent. At least no one would dare to bully or provoke Shun Mai when she returned to the Queen's palace. Chapter 241, The Destruction of Maple Leaf Manor. Chapter 241, The Destruction of Maple Leaf Manor. After a day, the two of them returned to the place where they came in and waited for the exit to open. The last time they entered, there were nearly 1,000 experts. However, when they returned now, there were only about 300 of them. However, judging from the expressions of these experts, he should have gained quite a lot. The 7th and 8th level martial emperors had all returned. Only old monster Tian Ming, old ghost Yin Ming, and Wei Tian had disappeared. Many experts were shocked. The two old monsters and Wei Tian were both Type 8 experts. Wei Tian did not say anything, but Tian Ming and Yin Ming were definitely in the top 3 among the people who had entered this time. There was no super expert who could kill the two of them. Even the only 9th level martial emperor here could not kill them. However, countless experts discovered something strange. The young man with no cultivation had returned, and in his arms was a peerless and beautiful girl. Many experts knew or had heard of this young lady. She was the little princess of the Queen's palace. However, the Tier 8 guard beside her did not return. Instead, a young man with no cultivation and a Tier 9 warrior spirit little princess returned. Moreover, many martial emperors looked uneasy when they saw the two of them return, as if they had seen ghosts. Hey! Why is the little princess of the Queen's palace with him? From the looks of it, they should be lovers. Yeah, it looks like this pretty boy has already won the favor of this little princess. Why would the little princess of the Queen's palace fall in love with a pretty boy who has no cultivation? This is really strange. Countless powerhouses were whispering among themselves. When they looked at Li Lingtian, their eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. However, he could not hide the envy in his eyes. To be favored by such a peerless beauty was worth it even if he died. Senior brother, don't speak. Don't provoke him. He's not some pretty boy. He's more terrifying than a devil. When a 4th level martial emperor saw that his senior brother was also discussing with him, he quickly stopped him. It would not be worth it if he were to fail in the ditch at this time. What do you mean? When Yang Tian heard his junior brother's words and the fear on his junior brother's face, he also felt that something was wrong. This pretty boy did not have any cultivation base, yet he was able to return safely. This was a little suspicious. Furthermore, as the little princess of the Queen's palace, the person she fancied must be a heaven-defying monster. Tianming and Dark Nether died in his hands. They were killed at the same time. Although the two of them died under his demonic beast, when the demonic beast killed the two old monsters had already been beaten until their realms fell. Their injuries were terrible. Feng Lai was still afraid of the two demonic beasts that had killed Tianming and Yin Ming. Furthermore, when he saw Li Lingtian's injuries and Tianming and Yiming's state drop, he was certain that Li Lingtian was the one who had beaten them up. The demonic beast killing them was just the end of the battle. What? Two old monsters joined hands and were defeated by him, causing their realms to drop. In the end, they were even killed. Yang Tian was extremely shocked. This news was too shocking and he could not help but exclaim. Instantly, countless martial emperors looked at him. They had also heard a part of the conversation, and their eyes were filled with questions. Brother Lan, I'm not afraid to tell you that when Dark Nether and Tianming joined forces, they were beaten by him until their cultivation levels dropped. In the end, they were killed by his demonic beast. A Force Emperor whispered to the people he knew when he heard someone say it. That's impossible. Even a Supreme Realm expert might not be able to defeat Tianming and Netherworld if they join forces. He beat them until their realms fell? Isn't this too terrifying? What exactly happened? Look, it shouldn't be difficult to imagine how the two of them look like. That's true. Old monster Tianming naturally likes women, and this peerless beauty must have become his prey. However, he didn't dare to attack alone, so he joined forces with the Netherworld. In the end, he was hit by an iron plate. That should be it. How powerful is this? It seems that we can't afford to offend some low-profile people. Perhaps an ordinary person can be a super expert who can kill you in an instant. At that moment, countless powerhouses were discussing among themselves. They were all suspicious when they saw Li Lingtian and the other man. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian and his companion completely ignored the discussions. The two of them sat on a huge rock in a quiet place while Shunmaya snuggled up in Li Lingtian's arms. The two of them did not say a word as they enjoyed each other's gentleness. The scene froze. No one dared to cause trouble in this place, and their hearts were extremely heavy. A super expert who could destroy the world was here. Who would still dare to act tough? Acting tough was not to be struck by lightning, but to be killed by experts. Crash! An arc of lightning struck down from the sky, and a figure of light landed on the ground. Just like the last time outside, an array altar of light appeared. On the array altar, there were countless mysterious arrays and mysterious lights. We should go. Li Lingtian looked at the array altar with a calm expression, but he did not show the reluctance in his heart. He gently held Shun Mai's hand and slowly walked towards the formation altar. It was a strange scene and the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Many powerhouses wanted to leave after the array altar was activated, but none dared to go up when they saw Li Lingtian's arrival. They could only stand aside. This scene made countless experts feel aggrieved. TSK. After entering the light of the array altar, a halo flashed and the two of them disappeared, leaving behind a breeze. In the space-time tunnel, the two of them held hands tightly and looked at each other. The reluctance in their hearts could only be hidden in their hearts. A breeze blew past, and the two of them floated in the air before slowly descending. However, the moment she landed, a faint multicolored light appeared on her body. As the multicolored light appeared, her figure gradually disappeared. My will always belong to my little brother. Crystal tears rolled down her lively eyes. As her voice fell, her figure became fainter and fainter. His figure disappeared, and his arms were empty. Her heart felt like it was being pricked by a needle. Unknowingly, a tear rolled down her face. He turned around and left without looking at the figure that was about to disappear. He didn't want to stay here and miss her. The thunderclap wings flapped, and he disappeared. In the soliciting moon mountains, there was a world-destroying explosion, and a burst of explosive aura tore through the space. Countless experts left the ancient cave dwelling, but they were all shocked when they saw the soaring aura in the mountain range. Li Lingtian lay on the ground and allowed the strong wind to blow against him. His expression was numb. I've lived 2 lives in this life. One thought that I looked down on the world and that I was a genius. However, I couldn't even protect my own woman, nor could one protect my own family. Expert. What is an expert? It is to control one's own fate, control the fate of others, control this world, and dominate this world. Only then can one be considered an expert. Li Lingtian must become a powerhouse who stands above all others and rules the world. Li Lingtian muttered to himself with a never-before-seen determination on his face. With a flash, he flew into the distance. A strong person must have a strong mind and would not yield in the face of any torture. Only with the heart of a strong person could one become a strong person. The matter at the soliciting moon mountains had almost been resolved. There was no point in staying here. However, Maple Leaf Manor still needed to be dealt with. If he left just like that, Maple Leaf Manor would definitely be annexed by other forces. Moreover, Unrivaled was waiting for him at Maple Leaf Manor. This girl was very important to him. After a day, he returned to Maple Leaf Manor. Seeing everything that was happening in Maple Leaf Manor, his expression became distorted. How was this Maple Leaf Manor? This was a ruin. The entire Maple Leaf Manor had been razed to the ground. Not a single piece of wood was intact. The entire manor had been reduced to ashes. There was not a single intact item, let alone a human figure. Li Lingtian was stunned by the sight. Who was the one who wanted to deal with Maple Leaf Manor? Who dared to do so? As a martial arts grandmaster, he could clearly see that this was not caused by a fight. Instead, it was caused by the destruction of the entire villa. Only a super 9th level martial emperor could do it, or even a martial honor. Yaro sis. Li Lingtian was on the verge of going crazy. Even with his ice soul martial soul and 5 elements perfection, he could not withstand such a blow. During this period of time, he had seen countless things that he could not do anything about. Facing the destruction of the god's wrath, he had seen Tang Zimeng's hoarse screams. Tang Qingyu had been taken away by a powerful family in the Azure continent, and Shun Mai'er had been forced to return to the Queen's palace. Now that Maple Leaf Manor had been destroyed, Unrivaled was nowhere to be seen. Who is it? Who did it? 1. Li Lingtian, swear that I will exterminate your entire family. Li Lingtian shouted loudly. He was powerless. He was too powerless in front of everything. With his current cultivation, countless people were afraid of him. However, after he left, someone dared to attack his family. Was this really afraid of him? The Queen Palace was one of the 3 superpowers in the Azure continent. However, after Shunmai entered the ancient cave mansion, old monster Tian Ming and old ghost Yin Ming dared to set their eyes on her. The Queen's palace was still not strong enough. If they were strong, they needed to be deeply afraid of them no matter when and where they were. Li Lingtian looked at the ruins in front of him and thought of what Yun Yaro had told him. He had been waiting for her to come back forever. When she came back, all she saw was ruins. Swoosh. It was at this moment that the sound of something breaking through the air was heard as it shot toward Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's speed was so fast that he arrived in an instant. With a flip of his hand, a palm print pressed forward and the sky-turning palm was unleashed. A shocking force crashed down on the air-piercing sound behind him. At the same time, Li Lingtian's body burst into the air and he left his spot far away. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.